Hey there, We Can't Wrestle podcast listeners. If you haven't noticed, we have switched our server to Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First of all, it's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple, and many, many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership, and it's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So go ahead, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Highly recommended by me and everybody else here at the We Can't Wrestle podcast.
You're listening to the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Now it's time for our host, Nate Matson.
Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to episode 102 of the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Nate Maxon here with you, along with Aaron. Aaron, how's it going out there, brother?
Going good.
Mr. Kyle Army is here.
How are you guys doing? 102 episodes.
102.
Ugh.
102. And we just keep rolling on and on.
Sure. At what point are we going to be on Viagra?
Next episode for me.
And that is the voice of Mr. Archie Mitchell of the Asylum World Championship Customs and the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Archie wears many hats.
Yes. What's up, everybody?
That's because he has no hair.
Right. I'm trying to cover up as much as I can.
That's one of my favorite latest Jim Cornette things when he says when the booking of wrestling now, it's like putting a hat on a hat. Like you do things that don't, you do this and then you do something even more extravagant on top of it. It's like putting a hat on a hat. I don't know. I think that's a really funny expression. This week's show, we are delving into what we're going to do is we're going to look into the Pro Wrestling Torch newsletter year-end awards from 1997, and we're going to take a gander at who won each category, and I'm going to get the co-hosts' opinions on number one, because I have number 1, 2, and 3 in each category, and whether we agree with the Torch, how would we rank these people, where would they be, who would we put as number one from that year in these categories?
Nate, you just made me really sad. I realized that I was 16 years old when this came out. Damn.
16. I was, let me see. I was 18. 18.
Damn.
Lord have mercy. I just told Kyle earlier, every time we turn a microphone on in this house, a cat starts meowing. So they make appearances on every single podcast that we do.
They do. Yes, they do.
Sound of our youth.
When we
Drifting
reveal the category, are we going to say who we think ours was first?
No, I'll read what their top 3 were, and then we'll discuss.
All right, because I wrote mine down just so people know I'm not cheating.
Well, this is more to get our opinions anyway, not to see who guesses it right.
I want to win.
What a year 1997 was.
It was my favorite year. My favorite year in wrestling. Period. End of story.
In my opinion, it was the pinnacle of wrestling. It's when everything started to gel for both companies. ECW was on the rise, and you were just happy to be watching something great on TV every week.
Yes, amazing products from all the companies.
For younger fans who may not know, like at that time, I'm sure with the rest of these guys too, but like it was constant, like flipping back and forth between USA and TNT because you had to watch both.
And things were changing, man. I mean, who here does not remember that being, first of all, the first Raw is War, being just amazingly fascinated by what you saw on the TV with the big Titantron and all that stuff. Never seen anything like that in the WWF before. And then in the first segment, Paul Bearer's like, "War is Raw, war." Like he couldn't even it was like he didn't even know what to say. And then the week after that, you get the Bret Hart Sid Cage match with Bret dropping the F-bomb, and I mean, we'd never seen anything like that before.
Vince was sitting there in his chair going, "Damn, we shouldn't be live."
But like in that intro for Raw,
Yep.
I mean, if you can't think of a better intro for a wrestling show, I'd like to hear it because,
Right.
like I said, I mean, it sets the tone.
Yeah, instead of the modern wrestling where Michael Cole comes on and goes, "Welcome to Monday Night Raw," or whatever the fuck show he's on. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant at this point.
kind of happy they
Literally,
moved
it's a
it to
fucking
SmackDown.
factory blowing up.
Right. And wrestlers running out.
One of my
fight.
favorite things. There was like a Raw magazine that was like might have been like the 10-year anniversary or whatever, and they were interviewing Kerwin Silfies about it, and he said all they were thinking about was the fact that they had this Titantron, okay, and they had built this Titantron and this big set and everything, and they were like, well, what was your? He said he was like really worried about it, and he was like, what was your? Like, well, the interviewer was like, what was your big concern? And he was like, the fact that Vince was going to be sitting down looking directly at that thing for 2 hours, and what if it doesn't work?
Right.
Like, how about he's not going to get up and come down and chastise this, 15 minutes in. He's going to sit there for 2 hours
And
look at
stew.
the big fucking thing that he spent all this money on, and it doesn't work. He said that was the biggest fear was the fucking Titantron wouldn't work.
And think about it. It wasn't like an LED screen. It wasn't a TV screen. It was literally a giant
projector.
fucking curtain.
Right.
He was like, this thing doesn't work. He's like, we're dead in the water if this doesn't work.
And there were a few times it didn't work. There were a couple of times it blinked out, or it didn't play the right video, or it didn't.
Yeah.
So he had his worries because his concerns were met.
The wrestler would come out and it would just still have the Raw is War thing flipping around on the. Yeah. But it was definitely an exciting time to be a wrestling fan. Coming out of, and I know all of us are kind of in the same generation, coming out of the kid-friendly 90s or late 80s, early 90s in the WWF.
The new era.
Yeah,
Right.
and then
I've said it before. Like my favorite Sid moment is that from that Raw that you're talking about when Sid comes out, and he's like, "I don't know shit."
I don't know shit.
It's like, oh, Sid.
Sid, big old dumb Sid.
I asked Kevin Nash a few weeks back when he was on the virtual show, the promo where he says, where Sid says, "You are half the man that I am, and I have half the brain that you are." I asked him, Kevin, was that a scripted promo? And he said, no. We told Sid, just walk out and say whatever you want. We're going to say whatever we want and go from there.
And that totally popped Nash and Hall too.
I am half the brain that you do.
Right.
Well, remember when he was doing that interview with Jim Ross? And he's like, "Oh, can I start this over?" And
Yeah,
Jim
can
Ross,
I
we're live, fella.
pal.
We're live, pal. Oh, Sid. This has turned into the Sid edition of the We Can't Wrestle podcast. So let's start here. We'll start with the first category, which is MVP of 1997. Anybody have a guess as to who? And it doesn't have to be who your pick was, because we're looking for your personal picks here for that year. But anybody have a guess for who might have been number one?
Shawn Michaels.
Steve
Anybody
Austin.
else? Aaron?
Well,
I don't
No,
want
go
your
ahead.
opinion yet. Okay.
I know. Oh, go ahead.
Number 3 was Bret Hart. Number 2 was Shawn Michaels.
Okay.
And number 1 was Steve Austin.
Yeah.
Good call, Kyle.
How could it not be?
So would that be your pick then, Kyle?
Yes. I mean, how could it not be? I mean, I know, granted that Steve Austin really didn't do a lot of the cool shit that he did until 98, 99, but like you have him throwing the belt into the sea and telling Rock, oh, I got your pager. Why don't you give me the big 316 when you find it? If you've never seen the episode of Livewire where Steve Austin on it, where he goes off on Sonny and
Vince, I think it's Vince Russo, right?
it might be. It's either that or
Todd
it's,
Pettengill.
Vic
that or-
Venom. Not Vince Russo, Vic Venom.
Vic Venom, then, yeah.
but it is just, I mean, it is just a super cut of like some of his best stuff because he cuts a great promo on Bret Hart.
You got to love the Austin 3. Remember the Austin 316 VHS that Austin narrated?
We watched the hell out of that thing, man.
Yeah, we did.
You know, he always seems to surprise you with every promo. From the, all you have to do is put an S in front of the Hitman and you'll know exactly what I think about him. So like Kyle said, throwing the belt over into the river and saying, give me the 316 when you find it. And then staying at the bridge till The Rock arrived to fight and get thrown into the water himself. You know what I mean? And we mentioned this a couple of weeks ago on the podcast. Whenever a wrestler gets arrested or gets taken away in an ambulance, they always seem to come back in the cop car or ambulance they got taken away in. Austin was the originator of that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know what I mean?
Think about it. That this is the year that we got to see Vince get stunned. This is the year that we get to see Austin kind of it plants the seeds to what Austin will be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in 98, 99, because like I said, he's the one guy too in 97. You know, the big thing is Canada versus America.
Yep.
And you watch like Canadian Stampede, and they boo every fucking American except for Steve Austin.
Right.
Oh, they
Yeah,
popped for him. They popped for him.
Oh yeah, they're just like, what fuck? We like Steve though. He's
Right.
So I'm assuming Kyle, you picked Austin.
Yes.
Archie, based on your comments.
All three are perfect in their positions. I agree with all three, and I'm good with Austin because Kyle's right. It was his growing period, and after knowing that Austin was in WCW in 89, 90, and how long he had to travel to get to the WWE to finally find stardom, sure, he deserves MVP. My only reasoning for Shawn Michaels is because that was at a time when Shawn was in the picture and everything as well.
Mm-hmm.
The X was just starting. The screw job with Bret.
Oh, those, there was nothing that ever, there was nothing that ever felt more real to me watching wrestling. I mean, other than when I was little and thought it was real.
Right.
Because I was a little idiot. But from when I realized that it was a work, there was nothing that felt more real in wrestling than those Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, like when Bret's in the wheelchair and Shawn's like hovering above him. And I mean, that stuff is just etched in my mind. And Real or Memorex, they both did a great job performing.
That's the thing about why I say all three deserve their spots, whether it's first, second, third, whichever one. I go back and watch old Austin, HBK, and Bret Hart stuff, and I still pop for it.
Mm-hmm.
I still enjoy watching it. So,
and here's the crazy thing: if you go back and watch '97, those three, and then you throw Undertaker in the mix, but those three, like, they bounce in and out of feuds with each other. Like, they juggle the three of those, like, throughout the entire fucking year, because Shawn has matches with Austin. Austin has matches with Taker. Bret has matches with Austin. Bret
and then you sprinkle in Owen and The Rock and Triple H. They had the perfect roster of their top guys,
and Mankind and
everybody was working hard.
So, Aaron, what would your pick be?
Bret.
And I tend to agree with Aaron. I slightly lean towards Bret, and I'm not gonna get into it right now. My reasons, Aaron, you can if you want, but there's a couple things on the other awards that I'm going to mention a lot about Bret. So,
well, here's a rundown of just pay-per-view Bret in '97. You guys ready?
Yep.
In your house, Final Four. It's Bret versus Austin versus Vader versus Taker. It's fantastic. WrestleMania 13, Bret versus Austin. In your house, Revenge of the Taker. Bret versus Steve Austin. The Canadian Stampede. It's that 8-man or that 5-man. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. SummerSlam. Bret Hart versus The Undertaker with Shawn as the ref. Ground Zero. Bret Hart versus Del Wells. One Night Only. Bret Hart versus The Undertaker for the championship. Bad Blood. Bret versus Bulldog. Which they didn't team very much, but the couple times they did, they should have had those guys team a lot more because they were really good together. Brett and Bulldog versus Patriot and Vader. And then Survivor Series, it's Brett versus HBK. And only 2 of those, Brett's not in the main event, but he's still defending champion. So, in my opinion, the championship is the main event of any show. So 9 pay-per-views out of 12 in a calendar year, Bret Hart was the main event, quotation marks, the main event of the show. That's fantastic.
And think about this, like in 1997, okay, just how amazing, how great of a year 97 was. You had the Royal Rumble, which Austin wins by, shenanigans. They go the next month to Final Four, and it's like, oh, well, there really wasn't a winner, so now we're going to have this. And people were okay with it. They bought it. They're like, yeah, hell yeah.
Right. Who needs a champion right now? Right.
Right. And again,
like, your goddamn mind.
Again, it's because you'd never seen anything like that. You never seen the juggling act with the WWF title like that. There was always a clear-cut champion, normally a babyface, being chased by a bunch of heels.
The only time before them was when Undertaker beat Hogan and they had to put it in the Royal Rumble, and then Flair won because Hogan pulled Sid out.
Right.
And even then, they didn't call for a Final Four and say, hey, Sid and Hogan and Flair and whoever, they just gave Flair the title. But see, this is my problem with Austin being number 1. My only problem. Aaron mentioned it. Every match he mentioned Austin in, except for the Royal Rumble, Austin lost.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He lost in the 10-man tag. He lost against Brett at SummerSlam. And, he fainted, which is still cool to me, seeing that, pool of blood dribbling off his face. But Austin was still being booked as the underdog, which, okay, that's great. It allowed him a big come-up. But HBK and Brett were the workhorses and always involved in a winning way and always doing something for the company more. That's why I say it should be between them for 1 and 2.
Right.
And
so
let's not. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm a big fan of the Royal Rumble '97. When Austin's throwing everybody out and sitting on that top rope, it's like, well, let's go. And then you hear Brett's music hit, and he's just...
And his face. Oh, God.
He fucking sells it.
That face.
Those two, if nothing else, I wish to God we could have seen more between those two.
Well, yeah, you talk about guys that were meant to wrestle each other. Steamboat and Flair, Hogan and Savage, Brett and Austin.
Definitely.
That's perfection. Absolute perfection. All right. So now we're talking bell to bell. The next award is Best Wrestler of 1997. So that would be bell to bell in the ring, Best Wrestler of 97. Anybody want to go out on a limb and say who they guess is number 1 in the torch poll?
Brett. I'm going to say it's got to be Brett.
Anybody else before I read the...
I'm gonna say
I don't want to say who I think, because then it's just going to foreshadow who I picked. You know what I mean? Like subconsciously, I'm just going to say.
Well, no, you're giving your opinion on who you picked, but I want to know who you think they voted on, because that's not necessarily going to be the same. But who was the most? It doesn't matter if you give your pick or not. But
I'm going to say Owen.
So the Hart family.
Number 3. As voted by the readers of the torch, Chris Benoit.
Yeah,
number 2, Rey Mysterio Jr. Okay. Number 1, Shawn Michaels. So that was what the readers of the torch picked. Archie, since you're grunting, I'll let you go first this time. Who would your pick for best bell-to-bell wrestler of 97?
I am a Shawn Michaels mark, but 97 was not one of Shawn's better years. He got his ass handed to him in 80% of the matches he was in, even if he won. You know what I mean? I kind of would have liked to not have gone to Benoit or maybe Dean Malenko, because both of them were burning it up in WCW.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Malenko the following year in 98 won the top, the PWI 500. I believe he was the number 1 wrestler.
Right.
So, in my opinion, it should have been Benoit or Malenko.
Kyle?
Is 97 the year of the Booker T, Chris Benoit best of 7, or is that 98?
98.
Is that 98?
Yeah.
I was going to say, I get why Benoit's on that list.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like I said, you think of anybody that's better than that. got. Here's the problem with '97. You have so many guys that could have been considered the best wrestlers of that year. You have Jericho coming up. You have Eddie Guerrero coming up. I'm with you guys with Sean.
And, you look at ECW. They had Saturn and Cronus and Shane Douglas and all. Anybody could have gotten that award that year.
Yep. Again, like what you said with Sean, I get it. I'm surprised that Sean is the best wrestler of the year, just because being the tail end of the year, with the whole Montreal screw job still in people's minds.
Now, do keep in mind, and he's not my pick, but do keep in mind in '97 we also had just a blow-away performance in the Hell in a Cell from Shawn Michaels.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. You're right, though. He didn't wrestle a lot that year. He was, he's finding his smile.
He was getting his ass kicked.
And I'll say this, though, Arch, and I don't want to, disagree with you or anything, but with the whole, this guy didn't win this and this guy didn't win, it's when you go best wrestler, I don't think it matters in that category if this guy was a winner or a loser. It's because even losing,
I agree with you.
A great wrestler is the guy that can make somebody look great while they lose.
You're right about that. I agree with you. My only factor though, I prefer Shawn in his comeback when he got more technical in the ring than I did, because this was still the Shawn that jumped off the top rope, and when Vader wasn't close enough, he landed, stomped on Vader in the head, and went, "You idiot, you asshole," and then beat the shit out of Vader because it was, you know what I mean? This was still childish Shawn, who was doing things that was very unorthodox in the ring. Shawn that did the comeback, that was the more technical Shawn. So that's why I disagree with it. You know what I mean? So,
Aaron, who would your pick for best wrestler of '97 be?
And if we continue to do this, these years or whatever, so probably say we would start we do '95 through whenever it happened. Every time this category comes up, I'm going to put this guy in it, and Nate will know I'm not making this up. Me, it's Chris Benoit.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that Chris Benoit, you said he was number 3.
Number 3.
That's fucking bullshit. I
agree.
Chris Benoit, when he was not what he became, he was fantastic.
I agree.
There's not very many people that you could put above Chris Benoit as saying this guy is better than him, wrestling-wise.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a shame. It's a shame that the only times that we got to see Brett versus Benoit was the Owen tribute and at the end of Mayhem.
Yep. And both matches were good. They both delivered.
They were very good.
Chris Benoit never had a bad match ever.
No.
In his entire life, never had a bad match.
Does anybody remember?
He even got a good match out of Sid.
Does anybody remember in 94, 95, they brought Benoit into WCW for the light heavyweight division? He was wearing zebra striped
I think that was 90. I think that was 92.
93, yeah.
93. Because he has a fantastic match at a Super Brawl with Kuko Scorpio.
Exactly.
It's phenomenal.
He was even good then when he was young and infantile, and you know what I mean? And then he comes back to WCW, and I think in 3 months he joins the Horsemen because they see what kind of caliber wrestler he is.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, it's Benoit.
And I know people talk shit about Benoit and everything else, and everything has been said about him, but Aaron has one of my favorite Benoit stories about the guy with no thumbs. If you could share that.
Oh yeah, that's not my story.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying I heard from you first.
Dean Malenko tells this story about this guy. It was a huge Horseman fan. Okay, and they were doing this Nitro where they were up in this skybox, and this guy kept "You guys are the best. You guys are the best," and he's yelling at him, and they're like, "Cool, man, cool." And he has no thumbs. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
like the guy had no thumbs, and he's just like, I love the Horseman. And Benoit wasn't in there, and he wasn't in the skybox, and then he shows up, and Dean Malenko's like, hey, Chris, this guy's our biggest fan. Give him the symbol, buddy. And Chris is like, I love you too, man.
Puts the four fingers up, yeah.
And the guy has no thumbs.
Oh, God.
I don't tell it. Dean Malenko does.
I like it. I like it a lot.
It's on the Horseman DVD. You gotta watch it. It's fantastic.
This guy's our biggest fan.
So
And Chris is just putting it in his face like this.
Technically, he had no thumb, so all he ever did was the Four Horsemen symbol.
Yeah, but Benoit put it right in his face.
For me, to be honest, and I'm not disparaging the wrestling name of Chris Benoit at all.
No,
fantastic bell-to-bell performer. But I really would say, reflecting back, because I tried to think back when I was thinking about this, if it was me in 1997, who would I have voted for? And to be honest, I love Shawn Michaels. I love Bret Hart. I love Steve Austin. They were all compelling characters, but I thought bell to bell, who did I get the most excited watching wrestle in 1997? And Aaron can attest to this. For me, it would be Rey Mysterio. 1997 made me.
Ray was doing shit.
97 made me the Rey Mysterio mark that I became, and he was doing shit in the ring that. You know what I mean? Like it was absolutely amazing what he was doing.
Eddie and Ray was Halloween Havoc.
Halloween Havoc 97, one of the greatest matches of all time.
And the guy who was underrated for 97, well, even really his whole career, is Ultimo Dragon.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because
he got outshined.
He was, but is forever burned in my mind, turning on Nitro and stuff and seeing him with the 9 belts.
With the 9 belt, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. And when I noticed one was an NWA title and one was a WWF title, it made me mark out more because I'm like, oh God, he's a champion in every company.
Yeah, it's here's this guy, he has 9 fucking belts. He's been all over the world.
Ray, Nate, talk about that Halloween Havoc match. That DDT that Ray does, where he's up on the top rope and he flips and DDTs Eddie with it. Eddie talked about that, and he said that was the first and only time they ever did that move.
Yeah, that was the Dragon Rana.
Ray was
the first time he did it. Yeah,
they said they did it, and Ray basically got up on the top. They got him up on the top rope, and Eddie was like, "What are we doing?" And Ray's like, "DVD or DDT." He's like, what? And then Ray flipped into the shit and they hit it, and Eddie was like, we'd never be able to do that again. and that's insane shit I've ever. Eddie was like, that was the most insane shit I've ever done in my life.
And at 97, that was the thing where everybody wore the same shit over and over again. Enough time had passed for Macho Man to go, because even Macho Man at the time, all he wore was the Madness stuff and everything.
Right.
With Ray, every single pay-per-view, every single Nitro, it was a different outfit, a different costume.
Well, all right, here, I've been watching a show on YouTube called Wrestling Bios, and he does a show called Recounting the War. And he watches Raw and Nitro and shows you both of them and says who did better that night. And in 96, Hogan and Macho Man were actually wearing their NWO outfits to fight the Dungeon of Doom.
Yeah,
and just nobody realized because it was black and white attire.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, Hogan tried that weird heel turn in late '95 because the WCW crowd was fucking booing him anyway.
Right.
He did that weird swashbuckling promo where he had the sword and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck is going on with Hulk Hogan?
He's wearing a Phantom of the Opera mask and he's got a sword in his hand. You know what I mean? It's swashbuckling, brother. And he's in the Dungeon of Doom.
We need to do a list on the top 10 dumbest Hulk Hogan things.
Oh, we can get through that.
The fucking fist helmet's going to be on there.
We've covered 5 of them on this show so far.
I was watching ECW one night, and Paul Heyman came out, and he's like, we got some Lucha Libre stars. I'm like, what the hell's Lucha Libre? It's 95, 96. I don't know what the hell that is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm watching it, and here comes Rey Mysterio in Psychosis. I'm like, man, that guy's got the dumbest hairdo ever connected to his mask. Because you could tell it was a wig. And then Rey Mysterio broke out that Hurricane Rana, which I knew was the Frankensteiner, but he bridged into it and hooked the leg. And as a 14, 15-year-old kid, I went, wow, that was awesome.
I'm going to there were a lot of things that happened in the ECW arena, but easily one of the top three things that ever happened in the ECW arena was those two.
Yep.
Lighting it up for the first time in the States.
I think they had like 5 matches there.
And I'm not even a huge Ubi fan, but Ray and Ubi tore it up in ECW too.
Yep.
And I was a big fan too of when they came to WCW, having Mike Tenay come in and be the voice to kind of bridge the gap for those who didn't really know.
Nobody knew what the hell they were doing, right?
Yeah, right.
Tenay was the only one who followed it.
Why is the mask so important? Giving us the information so we can get, hey, look at that. Wrestling 101. Give me a story that I can get invested in.
I will never forget.
Hey, maybe some of these wrestling promoters in 2020 should watch that fucking shit.
Right. I'll never
Learn
forget
something.
Mike Tenay saying when Eddie Guerrero turned heel, he'd be like, I've watched Eddie Guerrero grow up in Mexico, and this is something he's always had in him. And when he came to WCW, he tried to play the good guy, but it seems that the old Eddie Guerrero's coming through again.
I didn't know about Lucha Libre, but I knew about Eddie Guerrero and Art Barr because of their tag team in Mexico.
Right.
Eddie was a perfect heel. So when he came to ECW to fight Dean Malenko and then went to WCW, I was like, why the hell is this guy being such a face right now and being a goody-goody? That's a heel.
Mm-hmm.
Let him flip off the camera and tell these little kids to go F themselves and let him wrestle.
Well, here we go. Archie loves my transition. Speaking of heel, the next category is Best Heel.
You do make a pretty good transition. I do like your transitions.
Okay, so I want to know if anybody has a guess on who was number one, and then I'll read the top three, and then we will review.
Hollywood Hogan.
I agree with Kyle.
That's who I think they picked, was Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
I agree
with Hollywood Hogan.
Number 3, Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
Number 2, Bret Hart. And number 1, Hollywood Hulk Hogan.
Of course.
So I'll do my pick first this time around, and my favorite heel of '97, of course, is Bret Hart. Anybody that listens to this show for more than 10 minutes knows that how big I am a mark for heel Bret Hart in the WWF in '97. One of the greatest heel runs ever, if not the greatest heel run ever.
And I'm gonna go ahead and I picked Bret as well. So you get that way you don't go to me after it.
But this is my only argument for that, Nate and Aaron. And I want you to kind of go with me on this tangent here. My only problem with Bret Hart being the better heel is that when Bret went to Canada, Bret was cheered. So he's technically not a heel in another
when
country.
Bret went anywhere besides the United States.
Yeah. The reason Bret was a great heel. Even when Bret was in Canada, he was still a piece of shit. It didn't matter what the fans were saying. A good heel will do shitty, terrible things until you.
Bret
exactly
even said it in one of his promos, Aaron. Around the world, in Canada, Germany, Europe, my fans love me. The only people who don't like me are the United States fans, and I don't know why.
Yeah, he said, "Thank you for letting me still be your hero."
Right,
and that is all well and good as a point. I understand what you're saying,
right.
But that's why I say it's a personal choice for me. And I don't watch. We're different than some people. We don't watch wrestling. We don't watch wrestling like some people watch it, where it is a bad guy and it is a good guy. We watch it as we judge on their performances.
Right.
And I don't know. Almost. I mean, Hogan was great as Hollywood Hogan. Ric Flair was a fantastic heel. Randy Savage was a crazy, crazy good heel. Shawn Michaels. How unlikable was Shawn Michaels in this time? But
right.
Just to me, that pro-Canada, snarky, better than you, but some of the coolest imagery in wrestling ever is Bret Hart in that wheelchair,
holding the flag.
And how tell me this: how good a heel are you when you're sitting in a wheelchair, but it still looks like you're looking down on me? Right. I mean, you know what I mean? He was so good at it.
They would have him up on the ramp just watching.
Yeah,
and I agree with you. And I believe that Bret Hart is an amazing heel, and 97 was great. But I got to bring up the fact with Hogan. Like, Hogan would come out and be like, "I am a god."
And I'm not disagreeing that Hogan was great too.
And like in 97, that was taboo for someone to sit there and say, "I am God. I am," people are like, "Oh, like this guy is," like it's because of me that you're here.
Here's the thing, though. Bret's transition to a heel was perfect.
Perfect.
Because you kind of expected it because he was already bitching and moaning anyway. So all he had to do was start.
Austin was like, "All you can do is cry."
Right. So, all right, I'm a baby face, but I'm bitching and moaning. Like with Hogan, too. Hogan pulled off heelish shit throughout his entire career before he turned heel.
Yeah.
But
Hulk Hogan, it's funny, and I don't mean to cut you off, Archie.
No, I know what you're going to say.
80s Hogan was totally a fucking heel. He was totally a heel.
Just because he said eat your vitamins and say your prayers doesn't make him a face,
And then he got thrown over the top rope in the Royal Rumble. He's like, "What? This isn't right. This isn't fair."
You screwed me, brother.
He gets pulled under the ring by the Giant. He runs back into the ring and bitches at Randy Savage. That's my title. I'm like, dude, let Randy Savage have his moment in the sun. He's been getting his ass kicked for a year.
Jesus.
But Bret transitioned perfectly because you got the bitching and the moaning anyway. All you got to do now is direct it towards the fans. They're booing you anyway, so tell them it's your fault.
If you're giving
it was a different year. It wasn't 97. It was 96. But when like Savage beat Flair on a Nitro at the Caesar's Palace, like Hogan jumps in the ring and he's like, "Yeah, brother, yeah." And Randy's like, "You're celebrating like you won the championship."
Right. You got busted, Your Honor. This is
the biggest difference between WCW and WWF. I want to bring this up real quick. WCW gave you moments. Because think about it, there's not a bigger moment than seeing Hogan drop that leg on Savage and join the NWO.
Exactly.
WWF gave you moments, but in a match.
Right.
Because you saw Bret Hart turn heel against Steve Austin.
At the same time, Austin was turning face, even though he didn't want to.
And I think
because he was getting the sympathy vote.
Between the two is WCW was about moments, WWF was about matches.
Right. Until WrestleMania, then they'd give you moments. But you're right. But even in
WrestleMania, like the moments came in the matches. Because think about it.
Right.
Honestly, who has gone back and watched WCW Bash at the Beach 96? I mean, I know me and Aaron, we
constantly I rewatched that, yeah.
But really, you're not going back to watch fucking the Scott Hall and Kevin Nash versus fucking Luger, Macho, and Sting. You're going back to watch the Hogan turn.
This is where I'm gonna get to who I think should have been on top of this list. But like I said, Bret made the transitional turn perfectly. Hogan was off TV for like 4 months, so when he came out and joined the NWO, it was perfect. Nobody saw it coming, except for Bobby Heenan. But
that's
in
Bobby
my
Heenan.
opinion.
He's always hated Hogan.
In '97, the top heel should have been Kevin Nash, and here's why. This was at the time that Nash and Hall were the tag champions, and the Steiners beat them because Randy Anderson jumped in the ring and took over the count when Nick Patrick was knocked out. And then the next night on Nitro, Kevin Nash had Randy Anderson fired by Eric Bischoff in front of his wife and children. Kevin Nash was a tormentor to everybody in the company. He would sit there and just be like, ooh, and, he was always a shit-talking heel. So I think for 97, it made sense to have Nash because even though he wasn't at the forefront of the NWO, he was still one of the main members.
Kevin Nash is also one of those guys who was a very convincing, much like Shawn.
Right.
I'm not reflecting on Kevin Nash today, but what I'm saying is he's like Shawn in that time where he is good at playing a piece of shit because he was a piece of shit at that time. I'm not saying anything about anybody today.
You brought Bobby Heenan, and I got to bring up, and I know we're going off topic here, but I just watched it the other night.
It's what we do. Don't worry about it.
I watched it the other night. It is tail end of WCW in 97, 98 when Bobby Heenan turns heel and joins the NWO team.
For like a minute, right.
Then they lose and start Heenan twits back.
Yeah.
He's like, hey,
Schiavone's
Tony, where were you? Right. Hey, Tony, how is everything
Tony's
going?
like, so you're back here on Monday Nitro, huh? He's like, I'm glad you agree. Thank you.
Yeah, that was it. That was it. That was the end of it. That's Heenan. So, Kyle, who was your pick for best heel? And then we'll roll on.
Hogan.
Hogan? Okay.
Yep.
It made sense. It made sense. I can't lie.
But Brett is right there behind him.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
Best baby face. Any guesses?
There were so few. There were so few
Yeah,
that
lots
year.
of tweeners, yeah, so it's hard to pick.
I'm not, like I said, I don't want to make the guess because I don't want to foreshadow what I'm going to say.
Okay.
I want to go first when we do our choices, if that's okay.
Kyle said Sting. This was around the time that Sting was starting to turn pro, mid 97.
So Kyle said Sting.
He turned in 96, like the tail end of 96. Like 97 is like Sting's year.
Well, yeah, but Starrcade was the ending of the year when he finally fought for the first time as pro Sting. So,
Right.
Kyle said babyface Sting.
yeah,
Babyface Sting.
Oh, he jumped my fucking goddamn.
Well, here's the reader poll. Here's what the readers of the Torch said.
okay.
3, The Undertaker.
Okay.
2, Sting. 1, Austin.
Wow. Okay.
It's Sting. Sting was the only babyface in '97.
Yeah, Undertaker was in between. He was bitching about Vince. He was bitching about Brett. He was bitching about HBK. And Austin was still... He didn't make his transition till SummerSlam. Even then, he was still Austin. He didn't do anything different but bleed at that match.
I don't consider Austin like a true face until WrestleMania, the night after WrestleMania 14.
And even then, he still was stunning Vince and doing what he was doing. It's not like he changed anything.
Well, no, but at that point, that's when you had
Right.
Vince, who was the asshole.
Right.
But I mean,
That's the main reason I picked Sting is what I just said. And Nate laughed, but it's true. In 1997, the only true babyface in professional wrestling was Sting.
Right.
Like in the WWF, and it was fantastic. Everybody was out for themselves.
Yep.
You know?
I mean, who did the WWE really have as a baby? The Patriot? Vader? You know what I mean?
And they, like I said, like Sting was the only guy that was just like, what is going on is completely terrible, and I'm gonna stand up for it.
right.
Nate, like I said, you chuckled when I said it, Nate, but honestly, tell me I'm wrong. Sting was the only babyface in 1990, like true babyface in 97.
He was the only main event babyface in 97.
Okay, and that's what we're talking about on this list. We're talking about the best ones, and he was it.
Honestly, with everything going on in WCW and WWF, there weren't that many huge baby faces even in the mid-card area. I mean, Val Venus, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, Mark Marrow at the time, I think, and even then he was starting to turn. On WCW's side, who was there with Rey Mysterio? Okay, not a bad choice.
Right.
But who was really there that much as a face that could say, oh, they were definitely a baby face for the entire crowd? I think DDP might have just started to get into the whole, people's champion mode at that point.
Luger was, off and on.
Right.
Savage was off and on.
Luger
Giant was off and on.
Luger was Luger was never anything in the 90s WCW because you never knew what the fuck. I am so glad that the NWO happened. And here's why. And Aaron and I have discussed this before. If you guys watch from September of 95 when Nitro debuts until June of 96, right before you head to Bash at the Beach and Hogan turning babyface, the predominant storyline in WCW for like 9 months is, can Sting trust Lex Luger? We can't trust it. You can't trust Lex Luger, brother. Right. It's like they did the same fucking thing every week.
Like in 1999 too.
I think Randy Savage uttered the statement every week during Monday Nitro to Sting. Just keep your friend away from me, brother.
Yeah, brother.
I get it. You don't want to be next to the Lex Luger, but yet for some reason you're always teaming with him. You know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck? He broke your arm and put you in the torture rack.
Yeah, they
you know?
that Luger, they beat us to death.
Yeah. I mean, was he in the Dungeon of Doom? Was he not? Was he a member of just Jimmy Hart's stable? Was he going to join the real NWO? Oh, no, wait, he's in the Wolfpack. Oh, wait, what? You know, here's what I'd like to know. I have a quick question. Again, we're going to go off topic, but the NWO Wolfpack is made. Conan joins, Macho joins, Luger joins, Sting joins. Finger Poke of Doom happens.
Right.
They're all one now except for Sting. Did Luger know that this was going to happen? Because Nash and Hall and Macho Man did, and Conan. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So was Sting the only one not clued in that when the Finger Poke of Doom is going to happen, we're all turning back to the white and black?
Right.
You know?
And it's a shame the only match we got really between Brett and Sting was at Halloween Havoc, and that was a fucking horrible.
It was bad.
Horrible.
Yeah, it was bad. I don't think it ended with a decision either, or did it? It was something bad.
I know Sting got hurt. Like Brett,
yeah,
you know, because that was the thing. Like they never could decide if they wanted to make Brett a good guy or a bad guy. Which it's like, how in the fuck do you not make him a good?
He took over for Luger. He was Luger's.
Yeah,
we got Luger somewhere.
This is our new flip flop guy,
right?
Yes.
So I think let's go round table here. I think I agree. Sting, best babyface of '97. Aaron says Sting. Kyle, you agree, and Archie agrees. So
I have to agree. There's no one else.
We all disagree with the torch readers because they said Austin, and I think he was not yet.
Oh, sorry.
He was not yet there yet, Austin.
It might be the only time we've ever all agreed on something.
I think we might all agree on the next one.
Get David Goldman so you can disagree.
Can we take a break real quick?
We can take our break if you would like, sir.
Yes, please.
All right. Well, we will take a break, and we will return with more. I mean, we're talking 97 still to come. We're going to talk about the match of the year, the best feud of the year, Rising Star. There's a lot more awards coming on this edition of the We Can't Wrestle podcast, and we will
enjoy these commercials from Big Lots where all your savings.
All right, wrestling fans, welcome back to the We Can't Wrestle podcast, episode 102, as we review the Pro Wrestling Torch newsletter year-end awards.
I'm glad you went with the torch. I'm glad you went with the torch and not the Observer.
I am a torch reader and not an Observer reader. I am a Wade Keller guy. Wade's not always right, but I don't know why, but I've just always been a bigger Wade fan than a Meltzer fan.
And don't worry, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't know much about Japanese wrestling, so
don't worry.
I don't know that guy.
Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. Our glasses are full and our bladders are empty.
Yes.
We're ready
for now.
For now. Nate pees more than everybody just behind the scenes.
In the yard, I'm just saying.
But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, before we get back into 97 on the torch, of course, as is customary, after our first break, we are going to do our shameless plugs. And I want to start out first with a non-customary one. There is a guy that is a very good friend of mine that listens to both the Motley Soup and the We Can't Wrestle podcast. And as we record this on Friday night, the 31st of July, the episode will probably be up tomorrow on the 1st anyway. He is getting married tomorrow. So I want to give a shout out to a buddy of mine named Chris Shepard, who is getting hitched tomorrow. Chris, congratulations to his wonderful fiance, who's a great chick, Nikki. Chris is also the drummer for a local band here called Caitlin Schmidt and the Move. Check them out on YouTube. Yeah, and I just want to congratulate Chris.
Good luck on the best day of your life, buddy.
Congratulations, Chris.
Thank you.
Hopefully it lasts longer than mine too.
Combined.
No comment out of me.
Thanks for being the black fucking cloud, Kyle. That's supposed to be Aaron's job.
I I'm hoping that they fucking do well.
Hey,
Whoa! I'm a glimmering ray of sunshine on light.
I married horse. I can't. It's not my look.
It's like the one thing you and Ric
actually
Flair
on my
have
first
in
divorce.
common.
I know we're going to do shameless plugs, but I almost got in trouble in my first divorce because we went to the court and they said, "Oh, we like in the state of Ohio, we like to try to keep marriages together. Is there any way we can keep this? Can we reconcile this?" I said, "No, Your Honor." I said, "You mind if I ask why?" I said, "She is a whore." Mr. Army, I have to ask you to refrain from using that type of language in this court.
I picture like a Michael Douglas courtroom scene with you like,
Right.
"She is a whore, Your Honor."
But Nate, I'm picturing
Why, Your
her
Honor?
dressed
Because Your
up-
Honor,
I'm picturing her dressed like a '70s style Vegas whore with like a beaded dress and a long pocket,
big hair.
and a big hair. And she is a whore, and the judge is like, "Please refrain from using that word." Well, Your Honor, he's not lying.
Please refrain from using that type of language, and I'll see you in my chambers later.
Definite shameless plugs here. If you are not a member of the We Can't Wrestle Facebook group, as Aaron would say, go ahead, Aaron.
why the fuck aren't you?
What are you
right.
fucking waiting for? And also, of course, we want to talk about Mr. Mitchell and World Championship Customs.
Well, yeah, we're still growing. We're almost at 1,000 members. We have amazing customizers. A gentleman just joined yesterday who does Marvel customs, and he was showing off a Magneto and a Dr. Octopus, which were unbelievable. Our admin team is very strong. We're all very close. We're brothers, like we are here in the We Can't Wrestle podcast and the Asylum. And I mean, it's not about buying, it's not about selling, and it's not about any kind of raffles or events. Just come down and show your work. That's all we want to see because we encourage it. No, ain't nobody judging nobody there.
But tonight, Nate's not hating on events because I won Bobby Anders' event.
That's
earlier
right.
tonight.
The Mo2 muscles.
Yes.
I have
cool
3 of
thing.
those.
And I will say that in Archie's group, they don't hate on you because that NWA ring I built, I didn't think it was that great, but everybody
No,
was like,
I told you it was great. Come on now. Why am I going to lie? I'm not blowing smoke on it.
And the cool thing about the World Championship Customs is you got questions, man. There was a question the other day. Someone was asking, "Hey, what's the best thing to use for skin tone for a character for a custom?" People are willing to help you and tell you what they use and their best, advice. So
Yes.
I get PMs at 4 and 5 in the morning some nights because I'm an insomniac. And there'll be a guy from Germany like, "So, mate, what do you use? What kind of paint? What kind of brushes?" And I'll sit there at 5 in the morning. I'll have to turn the light on, and I'll take pictures of the stuff I use. I'm like, "I don't know if you have this in Germany or, wherever you are in the UK, but this is what I use." And he's like, "Oh, I could order that. Thank you very much."
Archie's like, I don't even know where Belarus is.
Right.
if he turns the lights on, he puts his glasses on,
This is our only member from Fredonia. All right, so
I want to make a quick shout out to
Mark, buddy.
the Asylum AsylumWrestlingStore.com. Guys, I know that for all those who are collectibles, you usually go like a Ringside or anything else. These guys are the new kids in town, and I'm going to tell you right now, if you've ever had any issues with Ringside or any place else damaging your
won't have them
boxes
here.
or collectors, these guys are top notch, man. Your package is going to be packed securely, safely.
and Archie and I can attest to the fact of the quality of human beings that you'll be doing business with. David Gold, Mike Zecca, Rocky Turner,
Nick Francis,
Johnny
Over at the Asylum. Myself and Nate.
Over at the Asylum, they know how to handle your package.
Deliveries in their. What was that line from Chuck and Larry? Deliveries in the rear.
I think I just saw a post in the Asylum the other day, or just today, where somebody was saying they ordered some legends from Target and they creased the packages and everything else.
That was Jamin Wooten, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it happened to everybody who ordered from Target pre-order. Only like 2 people got
if
one
you
or two
guys,
fingers
if you
good.
go to the Asylum, you're not going to have to worry about that because you're buying from collectors who understand what it means to be a collector.
Right, and I assure you that will not be forgotten as we grow.
Nope.
And speaking of the Asylum growing, I mean, what we're at the cusp of 4K.
I believe it's 35 and change right now. We're like a few away from 3,600. And I want to say something. We have brought in countless guests already for the virtual meet and greets, Nate.
Mm-hmm.
And they do their best to promote, but they're not just promoting themselves. God bless them. It's not just come see me. It's come join the Asylum.
Yes.
Come be a part of it, because it's not, once I'm gone, there's going to be other people coming in. And their followers and their fans are joining, and they're being active and being involved. I mean, we don't just have almost 3,600 followers and members. We have 3,500 and change people that are active. They're actually talking, commenting, playing in the events, being a part of the meet and greets, and it's amazing, because I don't think there's any other group that has 3,500 active members when they have that many people involved.
Right.
So,
absolutely.
You're a family.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yes. The Asylum, World Championship Customs, the Nerd Closet, and the We Can't Wrestle podcast. You know what? Getting those 4 groups, so that's really all you'll need, folks.
And
I agree.
And I know I love Aaron, or I love Nate to death, but he's not a big guy on shameless plugs. But his wife is starting a brand new podcast.
Yes.
Oh,
yes, she is. You all know about the Motley Soup podcast, which I shamelessly plug all the time here and in the group. And Kendall will be starting a podcast, which will be launching this weekend. If you've listened to a couple episodes of the show, we were doing. She did some shows where it was all about her, and I kind of shut my face and just listened. And where she's talking about murderers, criminals, things of that nature, like crime mysteries, things like that. And the show will be launching this weekend, and it is called Criminal Wind, Wined, because she likes to drink some wine while she's podcasting. So please, definitely, and we will have a link to that, obviously, because I like being married and I love my wife in the We Can't Wrestle group and the Motley Soup group. So stay tuned, because she's going to do a great job. She does her research. She works much harder mentally than I ever do at doing any of these shows. So yes, definitely check that out.
It's way more cultured, because we get drunk on beer and liquor. She gets drunk on wine.
Yeah.
True.
I have a feeble little page.
Go ahead. It's shameless plug time, brother.
It's a feeble little page. It's got like 85 members.
But that's growth. I mean, when did you start it?
Like a month ago.
No.
85 in a month ain't bad.
No, it was like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, Aaron.
Okay,
Ain't
well,
been a month.
I don't sleep much. I don't know, man.
Days run together.
Yeah, they all run together. But anyway, it's called Trading Chops, and it's not about pork chop recipes unless you guys want to put them on there. That's fine. There's
I like a good pork chop recipe.
Oh, I love a good fucking pork chop. Yeah. My favorite cut of meat. But there's only 3 rules on it. No religion, no politics, no COVID-19 talk. That's the only rules. Everything else,
fair
talk
game.
about whatever you want to talk about on it.
And it has some of the funniest shit that's on.
Without a doubt. Oh, without a doubt.
Absolutely. All right, so we've done our shameless plugging. Let's roll on 97. I said before the break, I don't think this next category we're going to have much disagreement. Of 1997, what was the best wrestling TV show?
Raw.
Oh,
Sorry.
that's a hard one.
Ooh, boy.
That's not hard, Archie. It's not.
Well, I know there's 2 of them, but I mean, I'm sure.
Well, the readers of the torch, number 3, ECW.
Of course.
Number 2, Nitro. Number 1, Raw, and I can't disagree. Raw in 97 hit its stride and was amazing.
And even though the ratings don't show it for another few months, Raw was taken over.
And that's not even knocking Nitro. Like, Nitro was really good in 97.
You know, Aaron, people don't think of it this way. They're thinking, oh, Raw won the ratings. Yeah, but like by a point. Nitro won that night. Yeah, but like by 10,000 viewers. That's not a lot.
Right.
That just means somebody chose to tune in a little longer than they did to the other show.
Like you combine Raw and Nitro. I can't say this and say,
It's
oh,
like
I'm
9 or 10 million viewers at a time.
That's what I'm gonna say. Like I can't say that I'm accurate in this because I'm not I don't know, but I would assume that if you would combine the people that were watching Raw and the people that were watching Nitro, it doesn't even compare if you would combine the people that are watching fucking AEW and even WWE now.
Nah.
Oh no.
Nah.
Oh no. Raw
Like,
did
I'm
their
not even
lowest
saying like
rating.
WWE Raw. I'm saying WWE,
Right.
like Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and AEW.
Raw
Probably
did
even
last
equal
three.
people were watching in '97.
Last week on Raw, they did a 1.6, which basically means 2 million people were watching them.
Ugh.
SmackDown did a 1.4, which means it was just under 2 million people. And AEW and NXT combined did 1.4 million viewers. So that's nowhere near one episode of Raw back in '97.
Right. And that's
You
even
know?
when business was down.
Right.
That's why David Gold and I have that argument all the time about, he likes to bring up, well, YouTube and DVR and blah. Still, even if you add some YouTube viewers and some DVR viewers
Right.
and et cetera, you're still not going to get to the number of 2 or 3 million people. End of story.
And here's the thing, like with WCW Nitro and Raw, it's like apples and oranges because you're getting two different things from those shows.
Mhm.
Because with Nitro, you're going to get, some NWO, you're going to get a bunch of jobber matches, and maybe a main event. 97, the fucking gloves came off for Raw.
Kyle, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Any ending of Raw or Nitro, 97,
Mm-hmm.
they made you want to tune into the next week's show. You were chomping at the bit for 6 days waiting for the next Monday.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
Well,
Even with the
Nitro,
Yeti, even when the Yeti bursted out of that damn ice block, you wanted to watch Halloween Havoc.
Even
What the
even
fuck
in
was that?
yes, I was going to say even in perverse curiosity.
Right.
the problem
You
with
know?
Nitro was the reason why you wanted to tune in next week is because they cut the fucking feed
Right.
5 minutes before
They
the
knew
match.
what they were doing. You
Like
watch
what
Raw
busted
now.
out of that ice block? Was it a
Right.
monkey?
Was it a mummy? Was it a Yeti? Was it a guy in toilet paper? We don't know. Did he hump Hulk
Was
Hogan
it-
at Halloween Havoc? Did he not?
Was it
You know?
was it Bruno Sammartino going two times?
Two
And
times.
it was
Was it Bruno? Was it an orangutan?
Nitro
was
started
it-
at what, 8?
Sometimes
Raw
they'd start at 7:55 just to
Right.
get jump
Well,
on Raw.
at the
And Raw
start,
started at
show
9.
started at 9.
And
And
so
then
you have a
then
lot of the stuff
WCW was
going on
a
where it's
program.
like,
Right.
they'll be like, oh, in the next hour, at the top of the next hour, because you
Right.
knew what they were trying to do. They were
Oh
trying
yeah.
to.
But my point is, they left you on a cliffhanger every week on both shows.
Mhm.
Now, when I watch Raw, SmackDown, I'll only say that about Raw and SmackDown. There is no cliffhanger.
No.
I haven't finished. I haven't even watched SmackDown yet, and I haven't finished Raw. It's still on my DVR with
I'd
45
rather
minutes
watch the
remaining.
movie cliffhanger.
Right.
I was going to say
Now-
that now they leave you with a hang me on a cliff, please.
Right. Right. It's like what the
I'd
fuck
rather
did I
watch
just
the
watch?
Zapruder film than watch fucking.
You know. Now NXT and
Back
AEW
and
do
to
a
the
better
left.
job.
I feel
Back.
like
And to the left.
you know the movie.
I'm
You know the
glad you
movie
got that name.
Castaway.
Thank you.
You know the movie Castaway,
Yeah.
Yeah.
where Tom Hanks is up on that fucking mountain and he's like, "Oh, this is where I'm gonna hang myself." Like he's like,
Right.
"I'm gonna end it." That's the cliffhanger I feel like I'm at now when I watch this shit.
Now NXT and AEW
And then I throw that
do good.
fucking Nerf ball off, and I'm like, "Oh, well, that didn't work out well for that thing."
AEW and NXT are doing their best to leave people at a point where they want to watch the following week. The shit they're doing with Cody and the TNT title, who's going to challenge him again next week? You know, the stuff NXT's doing with all these new guys popping up. That's a little better. But Raw and SmackDown are leaving me going, man, I kind of hope they cancel next week for the Westminster Dog Show. You know?
This is the only current product thing I'm gonna say. You guys ready?
Yep,
It's the only current product thing I'm gonna say.
I am
I
ready.
watched Impact
Mm-hmm.
after Slammiversary pay-per-view,
Yep,
and I watched the entire show, and it was really good.
it was.
It was a really good show.
Everything was wrestling oriented. The last
Yeah.
couple weeks, the pay-per-view, even when they had a vignette of something stupid going on, it had to do with the upcoming match. It didn't have to do with something bullshit that we
Mhm.
didn't need to know about.
Like right now,
You know?
Impact is not terrible,
No,
so you guys need to give that a chance.
it just sucks that they're not on a channel that everybody gets. so they're not getting the viewers that they deserve. Think if they were on Spike TV right now or whatever, Paramount Channel, or they would have got to deal with TNT instead of AEW. Impact might be a massive force right now.
Right. So the next category for 97 is Match of the Year.
Oh.
And I'm not, because matches vary and et cetera, I'm not going to get anybody's guess. I'm going to read their top three. And then this time around, we will start with Archie. And we'll give our selections. Match of the Year, number 3 in the PW Torch reader poll was the aforementioned Ray Jr. Eddie Guerrero match from Halloween Havoc.
Unbelievable match.
Number 2 was Brett and Austin at 13.
Yep.
And number 1 was Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker at Bad Blood in the Hell in a Cell match.
I have no problem with that list. I actually agree 100% because HBK versus Undertaker was revolutionary in the Hell in a Cell match.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the better Hell in a Cell matches until Mick Foley decided to jump off the cell and be put through it the next time they did it. They introduced Kane, and I mean, it really was an all-around good match. Shawn and the Undertaker busted their asses.
Yes, and again, much like everything else in 97, it's like nothing you'd ever seen before.
Nope, exactly. And the other two matches being at second and third, I could agree with both.
Mm-hmm.
I maybe would flip-flop Ray Jr. and Eddie to 2, but all 3 deserve their spots.
I would flip-flop, and I know this is going to be maybe controversial, but I'd flip-flop Austin and Brett for Shawn and Taker.
Okay.
Just a simple fact.
Well, and that's the thing. These matches are all so good. A case can be made for anyone.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, my favorite match isn't even on the list. So
but here's the problem I have with Shawn versus Taker in the Hell in a Cell. I know we're talking the Torch and not the Observer, so it doesn't really matter about Dave Meltzer, but Dave Meltzer gave this 5 stars. It was a fucking non-finish. Basically,
Mm-hmm.
It was a fucked finish. How can that be 5 stars when,
right.
True.
A perfect match should have a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, it's a great match, and it's a great storytelling, device to bring in Kane, and it's fucking brilliantly done. And 3/4 of it is fucking amazing. Shawn and Taker, I mean, they do amazing things. But the fact is that when it comes down to it, if you want to talk about a strict wrestling match, the fact that Kane comes out and, you were sold on the fact that nobody gets in, nobody gets out.
Mm-hmm.
And we already saw Shawn and Taker get out.
Right.
And Kane rips the fucking door off of the hinges, which, I mean, granted, in 97, that was great. Now we see it all the time. But, in 97, it was great because it was new. But the fact is, I don't see how that's 5 stars because it's not
You're making a valid point.
I agree with all the selections. I will say, though, again, like I said, mine is not on here. To my mind, the best match of 97 is the 10-man tag at the Canadian Stampede.
God damn you, Nate.
That match is amazing. It's honestly the only more than 2-on-2 tag team match that I would ever say is absolutely great.
That match is fucking perfect.
That
is
told
perfect.
the story like no other 10-man tag should have.
And no other match should have.
Right.
I'm surprised the Ahmed Johnson match from fucking WrestleMania is not there.
That's my
For
Ahmed
one,
Johnson.
in that fucking match, everybody does their goddamn job.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody in that match tries to overshadow the other person, which is what you shouldn't do in a match. Like, I understand that, like, in a match, 2 guys or 4 guys or whatever should try to steal the show. But when you're in a match, you shouldn't try to, like, scoop heat or whatever.
You should try to steal the show together, not from each other.
Yeah.
Right.
Like what Archie was saying, like with Shawn Michaels when he kicked Vader in the head and shit. That was bullshit. That's not something
Right.
to do.
No.
But in this match, these 10 fucking guys had no fucking ego.
Nope.
And understood we're going to go out there in front of this fucking crowd and we're going to do our goddamn jobs.
Yep.
And we're going to be professionals and we're going to do what we need to do.
Keep each other safe, too. Nobody got hurt.
And through the whole fucking thing, everybody did their goddamn job. And I'll add this. Something else that should be talked about in a wrestling match, and I know fans for the most part don't matter, but crowd interaction matters and crowd response matters. And this, I don't think there's a better fucking crowd for a goddamn wrestling match than I've ever seen in that goddamn Saddle Dome for that fucking 10-man tag. Like this match is wrestling art.
It is.
And everything fell right into fucking place.
You know, you look at the team that was the Hart Foundation team was filled with 5 great technical wrestlers.
It's Brett, Pillman, Bulldog, Anvil, Owen versus Shamrock, Goldust, LOD, and Steve Austin.
Right. Right. And this is my point. The 5 members of Hart Foundation worked like a well-oiled unit. The other 5 guys, well, it looked like, because you got the commentary team saying, can they trust each other? Austin has bad blood with this guy and that guy. That told the story too. You know what I mean? When Austin had to leave the match and then came back out and beat the crap out of the Hart family in the crowd, the match told like 5 different stories at once. You were able to keep up with all of it.
A match that I think gets overshadowed and doesn't get talked about a lot is Taker versus Brett at fucking SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Because the simple fact, if you want to talk about a wrestling match is nothing more than a story, it's drama, it's everything else. That match has everything in it. You have Taker, who's the champion, versus Brett, who wants his title back. Brett says, if I don't win, I'm never wrestling in this country again. Shawn, who's the referee, and Shawn and Brett hate each other.
And if Shawn does anything wrong,
yes,
Shawn gets fired.
That spit, when Brett spits in Shawn's face, and Shawn fucking wails back and hits Taker, and has to count that. I'm telling you, when he has to count that fucking 3, and he goes 1, 2, and he fucking stops and just looks at Brett.
Is it right at eye contact?
You could tell he wanted to look at Brett and go, "You motherfucker," but he couldn't. He couldn't
exactly.
because the camera was right in his face.
That's fucking storytelling. That's pro wrestling.
So that's your pick, Kyle? Is a SummerSlam '97 match? And it's cool if it is, man, because that's a fantastic.
No.
My pick is Austin versus Brett at WrestleMania. Yeah, I'm saying a match that gets overlooked is fucking Brett and Taker at SummerSlam.
Best feud of '97. The readers of the Pro Wrestling Torch voted at number 3, the WWF and WCW. At number 2, WCW and the NWO.
That's my number 1.
And at number 1, Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. I disagree. I think the best feud of '97 was Bret Hart and Steve Austin.
Nate, I agree with you.
Mine is WCW versus the NWO.
I don't know. I know that was a feud, but I don't know that I can consider that a real feud. As far it was like 2 companies going at it. What was the '99 feud? WWF versus WCW. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna elaborate a little bit, and then because I won't get too wordy on this because I'm never wordy, but Brett and Austin have it's one of the greatest feuds of all time. It's like saying that in '89 either Steamboat and Flair or Hogan and Savage weren't the number 1 feud. Austin and Brett feuded most of the year, and to what a lot of people will say is one of the reasons of the pulse of ECW in like 95, 96 was Raven and Dreamer, where everything revolved around their feud and kind of branched off from their feud. Yes. Austin and Brett was the nucleus for the WWF in '97. And what more memories can you have than, like you were talking about earlier, Kyle, with Austin waiting to see who's next in the Rumble, and there's Brett, or that double turn at WrestleMania, or is not one of the greatest Raws of all time,
Brett and
the
Steve
Raw.
and the ambulance.
Yes, where the Raw where Austin comes out at the beginning and challenges Brett to the no-holds-barred match, and then he does the little countdown, and then Brett comes out, and Brett gets beat up, and then he gets put in the ambulance, and then Austin winds up driving. These guys electrified 1997. I don't know how anything, even WCW versus NWO, could be. And the reason I say that also, WCW versus NWO, okay, I'm going to give them credit that they really all year were building to Hogan and Sting.
Yes.
So you had to make Sting come in and defeat the NWO, etc. But man, 97 did a lot to hurt that company because the NWO just butt fucked WCW for an entire year.
Except for Sting.
For Sting.
Everybody got beat up except for Sting.
And that's why I say that, in my opinion,
There was that.
Sting versus Hogan. Sting versus Hogan is the feud for me.
But they even hurt that feud. They hurt that feud, and here's why. And I'm not trying to be argumentative, and I'm not trying to go on forever. They really, really hurt Sting and Hogan when in the middle of the year they put Luger over Hogan for the title.
See, that's
remember?
what I was going to say that.
Yep.
That was actually a really cool, and it goes back to what Kyle said, a cool fucking moment. Like, Luger beating Hogan was a cool fucking
Everybody
moment.
coming out and grabbing Luger, the
And
Giants
those
wiping the
people pop,
NWA off the belt, and
And
But
they
then,
popped the fucking
don't
crowd
you think that took steam off of Sting, though?
yes. No one should have beaten Hogan until Sting got to him.
No,
But I'm
see,
just
that's-
saying that fucking dynamic with WCW versus the NWO, it interest little Aaron. He was interested in it.
Right. Now, let me say this, because in 1997, when WWF took the gloves off and was like, you know what, fuck you guys, we're going to, show you. If Sting versus Hogan hadn't been the centerpiece in 97, do you really think WCW would have lasted?
No, because the NWO killed off the company, essentially.
Exactly. It was, the whole year was based on when Sting and Hogan going to face each other.
Right.
Because I'm going to be honest with you. As much as I love WCW, WWF in 1997, 98, they fucking killed it. Yes, in 96, maybe WCW was kicking WWF's ass, but fucking Vince McMahon was like, hold my beer.
Well, I'm just saying, to me, in 97, it was WCW versus the NWO.
So, which culminated at a pay-per-view, which was Starrcade, and our next topic is best pay-per-view. I kind of forced that.
Yeah, that wasn't a great transition.
Yeah,
there,
that wasn't.
That was the one I hated the most.
I actually, in the direction of New Jersey, I heard wah, 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 wah.
The Pro Wrestling Torch rates this is the worst transition ever.
Next podcast, worst Nate transition.
Let's try to say this. So every week it builds up to the pay-per-view. And speaking of building up to pay-per-view,
yeah, I'll edit the rest out so I don't look like a dumbass.
No, I didn't say you look like a dumbass.
I know.
You said it,
So-
not me.
I'll say it. You look like a dumbass.
Oh, God.
So I actually had a hard time with this one. This is best
And what are
pay-per-view.
Best pay-per-view. Wow.
I had a hard time with the feud one and the tag team one.
The Torch readers picked at 3 ECW Barely Legal.
Good pay-per-view.
Yeah.
At 2 WCW Starrcade 97, of course, with Sting and Hogan.
Okay,
At number 1, they picked WrestleMania 13.
and that is what I picked.
Now, hold on a second. Starrcade 97?
With Hogan and Sting, yes.
Okay. You have Hogan and Sting and Zbyszko versus Bischoff.
Mm-hmm.
That's
With
it.
Brett as the referee.
3. That's it. The rest of that fucking card is fucking horrible. It's nuts.
I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, and even Bischoff and Zbyszko wasn't good.
Isn't that classic WCW? They always had like either a really good undercard and a terrible main event card, or a really good main event card and a terrible undercard.
Does anybody remember Bischoff loading his foot with the brick and it flying out before he made contact with Zbyszko into the crowd?
Rey Mysterio, who is the wrestler of the year, one of the wrestlers of the year according to these fans, isn't even on the fucking show. He's in the fucking crowd.
Right.
Make way for fucking.
Aaron's getting attacked by a helicopter right now.
What the hell is going on around?
Wait a minute. That's the monster from Ghostbusters, right? That's Zool.
Make way for
Jerry
Lynn. Like, are you shitting me, guys? Really?
What is that?
Hold on, Kyle. Hold on.
I think we have to edit this out of the show.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to edit this all out.
All right.
Aaron and his Area 51 shit.
Aaron, did you release Zool?
All right.
Are you the Keymaster?
Are we good?
Yes, I think so.
What the hell?
All right.
I don't control helicopters.
All right. Are you guys ready?
Ready.
But yeah, you're going to sit here and tell me that you're going to fucking keep Rey Mysterio in the crowd and not even have him on the show when he was voted as one of the top wrestlers of the year, but make way for fucking Jerry Lynn?
As Mr. JL. We didn't even call him Jerry Lynn.
Jesus. Like, how is that a fucking pay-per-view of the year?
What was it with WCW putting English, white American guys under mask and calling them Japanese?
Canadian Stampede isn't even on the fucking list.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Thought it was so bad.
So Kyle, you are very passionate about this. What is your pick for best pay-per-view of 97?
I'm going to have to go with Canadian Stampede.
And see, Canadian Stampede and SummerSlam were the ones I had a trouble deciding between. Canadian Stampede is almost a perfect pay-per-view. There's not a bad match. You know, you start out with the Sasuke Taka match. You have the match between Foley and Hunter. And there's Vader and Undertaker, which it's there, but it's still. I mean, those two guys have a good match for two big guys. Do. And then you've got your the 10-man that we already talked about. It's a perfect pay-per-view. Now SummerSlam 97. It's just such a well-balanced card. There was so much going on. The war between the Hart Foundation, with all the stipulations. It was really cool, and like you said earlier, and Kyle will remember, Archie, you might not because you may have not heard the episode or not, but when we many moons ago, when we did our favorite finishes, like our favorite match finishes of all time, my favorite finish to a match of all time is the finish to the Undertaker Bret Hart 97 SummerSlam match.
I agree.
That's my favorite finish of all time. Mine. I really did have to cheat and have a toss up between that Stampede and that SummerSlam.
And I see where you're coming from. My problem with SummerSlam 97 is that you go into it with a lot of empty promises.
Yeah. Well, no. Everybody delivered on their stipulation except Jim Neidhart. He never shaved his beard.
He didn't shave his beard.
And I don't think.
Can you imagine?
And Christy Todd Whitman's pantsuit. I mean, how awesome was that?
True. Yeah, that's true.
Like, she looked like that fucking guy from fucking 30 Rock.
She looked like Balky is what she looked like.
Oh, she looks like Jack McBride.
And I think the other big difference between the two pay-per-views is the fact that, like, with SummerSlam, you have such an expectation with it.
I gotta grab some beers, guys.
So like with SummerSlam,
Aaron, don't leave. What's your favorite pay-per-view of 97?
WrestleMania 13.
Okay. Go get your beer.
That goddamn
You should know that already.
Austin Brett match is fantastic. Taker and Sid is great. Brett comes out in it, and then he's like, hop along, and Sid's like, hop along,
Cry, baby.
Crybaby and that fucking goddamn LOD Ahmed Johnson versus the Nation of Domination Chicago Street Fight's fucking fantastic. It's a great fucking show.
Was that the match that then the next night on Raw sparked DOA and Los Boricuas?
I think so.
Yeah.
Hot as
the end of the first nation.
Savio Vega, hot as a jalapeno pepper. Your ass is fired. That's one of my favorite Ron Simmons lines ever.
Yep.
But I wanted to get Aaron's thing because he said he was leaving to go get a beer. So
that's fine. But I think the thing is that, like, whenever we watch like WrestleMania or SummerSlam or Royal Rumble, we know going into it that it is going to be a good show. It's given.
Right.
It's the
It's
pay
one
per
of the big
view.
four. Right.
You know, it is what it is. Survivor Series included in that. Going into it, it's like, oh, it's almost like Wrestle Kingdom. Like going into that, like that it's going to get a couple extra stars because the venue and everything around it.
right.
But when you have a pay per view that is in your house, that is a throwaway pay per view like Canadian Stampede, and it fucking produces. Like already you have the crutch because it's not a big four pay per view.
No one was expecting anything out of it.
No.
Everybody was thinking, okay, the 10-man tag will be a blow off because it's got to be Brett winning it.
And
Right.
and honestly,
Go ahead.
between you guys and me, like I said, has there ever been a better 10-man tag than that?
No.
Usually they're a cluster.
No. Like I said earlier, like when I was talking about that match, there has never been a tag match with more than 2 versus 2. Whether it be a 6-man, an 8-man, a 10-man,
Right.
that is ever like those matches to me always serve. They always appear to be the match to get as many guys on the card as we can. They don't serve to me to be a good match that I'm really going to be interested in. That 10-man, it's perfection. Like Aaron said, it's a perfect match. I dare anybody to watch that match and find anything wrong with it.
Even the ending celebration, the entire Hart family comes into the ring.
Mm-hmm.
They're dropping balloons and glitter, and
Even
you would swear someone just won a world title.
and the fact
Right.
that, like I said, they have the best involvement of Stu Hart.
Mm-hmm.
Because he doesn't come in and punch out Steve Austin. No, fucking it's Bruce that fucking fucks with Steve, and Steve thinks it's Stu, so he turns around and
Right. Knocks the hell out of Stu.
So the only person, Archie, what's your pick for best pay-per-view of
agree.
97?
I agree with Kyle. I think it's Canadian Stampede because from top to bottom, it's a good card. Like I said, the ending scenario of the Hearts having the hero celebration. And like I said, it's like that someone won a world title to end the show. You don't go into that pay-per-view expecting it to be a 5-star pay-per-view. You expect, okay, I plopped down $29.99 to watch this 10-man tag. And then every match has a story to tell, and then the final match has 20 stories to tell, and you're enthralled to watch it.
And Saka and Taka didn't even have a story. Like it wasn't even
Right. It was two guys beating each other up, hoping to win the light heavyweight title somewhere down the line.
So our next category is Rising Star of 97. Now, the Torch viewers or readers, Aaron, you're going to love this one. Number 3, Buff Bagwell.
Jesus Christ.
Number 2, Ken Shamrock.
Ugh.
And the Torch readers in 97 picked as the number 1 rising star in pro wrestling.
Who I think it is.
Oh, Lord, could they not have been more correct? Rocky Maivia.
yes,
That's not who I said.
No, I don't think I don't agree with that either.
Sorry, I had to let the dog in.
That's all right.
You mean you didn't let the dogs out?
Who the fuck is this?
It's Nate's evil twin, Mate Naxon.
Double mates?
I could. Rising star for me in 1997 was Chris Jericho.
I was going to say the same thing.
Everything he did.
I can see Ken
Not
Shamrock.
my pick.
I can see.
I absolutely dislike Ken Shamrock, so
Yeah, I can't agree with him being on the list. Why? Because he won the Intercontinental title as a part of the corporate ministry?
1997, he was, like,
That was
we're going
99.
back to 97.
99.
My point is, what was he really doing in 97? Okay, his feud with Owen was good, but it was overshadowed by everything else going on.
But he was that guy that was coming in. He had a lot of hype behind him. Forget for the fact that, like, we know how it's going to play out. At the time, because you got to think, like, at that time, he fucking challenges Mike Tyson before fucking Austin even has an interaction with Tyson.
But he wasn't very good at it.
No, he wasn't good at it. But, I mean, that's why he's a rising star, not a fucking...
Well, he never got good at it, though.
No,
Like, I'll be honest with you, and I'm not even disagreeing, or I will never debate the fact of Ken Shamrock's real life, honest to God, fighting credibility. He would bend me into a pretzel and kick me down the street. Okay, I am in no way disparaging the good goddamn name of Ken Shamrock. However,
you better buy me a pretzel.
He never did anything for me as a pro wrestler, ever.
No. I like Dan Severn better as a pro wrestler.
Dan Severn had better fucking music too.
Yes.
But Shamrock, and I know I'm getting off topic here, but not really, because he was voted in this poll, but that guy just never did it for me. Like, I
could see if it was a top 10, but not in the top 3, and definitely not number 2.
I'm saying in 97,
who
he had all the potential.
It was Buff Bagwell, Ken Shamrock, and number 1 was Rocky Maivia.
I agree with Rock. I agree with Chris Jericho.
I think it should have been Jericho, because in 97, Jericho was doing things that not many others were doing.
You guys want to pick?
Yeah, go for it.
Nate, you ready?
Yeah.
I know you're not paying attention.
I am.
Okay. Well, my pick for 1997 Rising Star is Triple H. Hunter Hearst Helmsley. In 97, that guy started his ascension. Like in 95, he was like, the aristocrat, blue blood, feuding with fucking Duke the Dumpster and Henry Godwin. And in 96, he floated along because he fucked up.
Got punished.
he fucked up with like the curtain call thing. But in like 97, that guy became a fucking star. But he wasn't the main attraction of it, but he was still in the mix. You know what I mean? Like his feud with like Goldust and Foley and all that shit. So in 97, a rising star in 97 was Triple H.
It's not a horrible choice. I agree. It's a good choice, but my only problem is he had someone to lean on, or a few people to lean on in order to get there. He had China and HBK.
Because Aaron said it.
And my pick is not on the list. Now I just want to go back and clarify, because we did a one of our things where we start talking about the topic and then I bitch or whatever, and the shit gets lost in the shuffle. So, are Archie and Kyle, did you agree Rocky Maivia?
No, I said Chris Jericho.
I said Chris Jericho.
Okay, yes. All right. So, none of us agree, because to me, we're all forgetting, I think, the rising star, and I agree with Jericho, hands down. Jericho was, he made such strides in 97. However, I see Jericho's breakout year as 98.
Okay.
Because of the feud with etc.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not disagreeing with you guys at all, but what I'm saying is, for me personally, the breakout star of 97 was Rey Mysterio. He really, really hit that national stage. I know he came into WCW in 96, but 97, WCW gave him a platform to show the American audience what he could really do, Definitely. And he fucking lit it up. So I think all of our picks were great picks, and a case can be made for any.
I think mine was the best, but
I was just about to say I think Aaron's was the worst out of the three.
Yes, Aaron, yours was the best. We're so thankful to have you on the show. You graced us with your presence.
I know. I
know.
This is gonna get 5 stars because of you.
In the Tokyo Dome.
It can't get 5 stars because you said fuck Dave Meltzer earlier, so Meltzer won't listen.
The next category.
Better abs, I guess. I don't.
The next category is career tailspin of 97. And I'm going to read the 3 that the Torch readers picked, and I actually agree with one of them, but it's ranked improperly. Number 3 in the Torch poll was Vader.
What was this again? I couldn't hear. My earphones were freaking out. Say that
Number 3 was Vader.
Okay.
Number 2 was Ahmed Johnson.
Okay.
And number 1 was Flash Funk for career tailspin in 97. Now, I'll just go ahead and say I think number 3 should be number 1 because I think this is the year that really put the nail in the coffin for Vader.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You left a company that put you as their world champion 3 times, I believe, and you were about to feud with Hulk Hogan again, and you might even have gotten to go over him one time. To go to the WWF where you were getting kicked in the head by Shawn Michaels for not moving.
Well, and then in 97, he starts out the year with Taker, and the feud was cool, but by early 97, he was pretty much laid waste to by Taker. Right. Then they put him in the tag team with Mankind, which at the end of the day, they were a good tag team, but it didn't make any sense. By the end of 97, he's in the weird situation where he's a face in Team America with the Patriot, and just bad year for Vader.
And then doesn't Kane hit him with a wrench in the face
or something? Well, no, that comes in 98.
98, but still, that's still a part of it.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's the nail in the coffin. But
none of those are on my list.
I always liked Vader. I never had it. In WCW, he was the best big man they had that any company could have ever seen.
He is definitely on the list of guys that were better in WCW than they were in the WWF.
Yes. As far as Flash Funk goes, Too Cold Scorpio wasn't that big in WCW. He was really good in ECW because he held both titles at once, the TV and the World Tag Team titles.
Never a good promo, though.
Never a good promo, exactly. And then when he got to WWF, they did the, of course, stereotypical thing. We're going to make him a pimp.
Mm-hmm.
I think a guy that isn't on the list but should be brought up is Mark Marrow.
Good too. Oof. Yeah, another guy that was on better in WCW.
Think about it. Fuck, man. He comes in with so much hype. And
he made the mistake. I mean, not only was he a little overrated, but he also made the mistake of letting them hire his wife. I mean, let's be honest. He made that was a mistake. You know, you look at it, hindsight 2020. Bad move on Mark Marrow's part.
Well, I'm sure Vince played it off as like, "Oh, you'll be the next Macho Man."
Yeah, Macho Man Elizabeth.
Yeah, well.
So, Aaron, who was your tailspin of 97?
The LOD.
Ooh, good call. Good call.
Yeah, I mean, I would actually, and I'm not disagreeing. I would put their tailspin in 98, but I can see.
No, anytime they were in WWF. Anytime they went to WWF was a tailspin.
Like 98 was when they tried to bring it back, but 97 was the worst fucking year for LOD. It was terrible.
They were getting beat up by the Outlaws and DX, and then the Outlaws became DX. And
LOD, the shine, and I said like WrestleMania 13 was like a fantastic pay-per-view for me, and that was like their last hurrah. And after that, it just fucking fell off.
You know, the funny thing is
they meant nothing after.
Nate, Aaron, they went back to WCW for a little while after that too. Before they came back.
That was 96 when they went to...
Okay, 96. Even when they went back to WCW in 96, though, they got a hero's welcome, and they were starting to get big again. I don't know what Vince McMahon was offering them that made them go back to WWF a third time.
But 97 LOD,
No, it was horrible.
the minute DX and the Outlaws put them through the table and shaved
Card
their
table, yeah.
and shaved their fucking mohawks and shit,
Mm-hmm.
ended them.
And I will totally agree with Archie. And I think we may have even talked about it on the show in the past. The LOD in the WWF was never. I don't know. They couldn't achieve in the WWF what they did in the NWA and WCW because of the way the WWF booked them. In that, in NWA, WCW, they were essentially like an Andre the Giant. They were a big attraction when they came on. You knew they were going to kick some ass.
Right.
You were going to get, and in WWF, they were always just part of the crew. They didn't stand out.
Look at it this way: in the NWA, WCW, they were two Rottweilers on chains, and all you had to do was let them go. They'd go rip shit up, come back and be put back on their chain, and go away. In the WWF, it was, well, here's two kid-friendly poodles because we want to have the feud with them against Demolition, but that has no payoff.
Well, I'll even agree with that. But like in like 92, like 90 through 92 when they were there, even with the fucking puppet, they were still sold as being like badass.
Yeah, but nobody saw them that way because an Animal even says it on Dark Side of the Ring. Hawk was always drunk or drugged out, and Animal was having to carry 80% of the match.
In fucking 97, they were just put through fucking announce table. Their hair was shaved off.
Yeah.
It didn't fucking matter what.
And then the next year, and here's Puke, and everybody went, what? And then was it 2002 or 2003? It was Heidenreich is joining Animal as LOD. What? No.
What the fuck is going on?
What's going on?
So I just took this tailspin thing as saying like,
yeah, no, I agree with Aaron.
When did the fucking wheels fall off of it? 97, the fucking wheels fell off the LOD.
Pay attention to something though, guys. Everybody we mentioned, Mark Marrow, Vader, LOD, better in WCW, not so good in the WWF.
Absolutely.
It's like Vince wanted to kill them because he didn't make them in the WWF.
No.
The Pro Wrestling Torch
wouldn't do that.
No,
award for 1997 for Tag Team of the Year.
That's
number 3 was the Outsiders.
Hey yo.
Number 2 was the Legion of Doom.
I know who number 3 is. Can I say it?
Well, 3 was Outsiders.
Right.
2 was LOD. Number 1, who do you think, Archie?
The Steiner Brothers.
The Steiner Brothers. And that's who I'm going to give it to. That's who I give the nod to.
I agree.
97.
They were badass again. They were starting to take over. Scott cut his hair. Ted DiBiase was kind of starting to float their way and become their manager. And they were winning titles every time they got it. I agree. This is the first time I agree with the entire followers of the Pro Wrestling Torch.
No Harlem Heat.
No Harlem Heat.
They were still finding their footing. It was they were good, but they were still, because of the NWO, they kind of got put on the back burner for like a year.
Yeah, true.
This was the hardest one for me because I almost put Bulldog and Owen, but Bulldog and Owen didn't really have a lot of tag team shit in the later.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll give you Bulldog and Owen for 96, but not 97.
Right.
Like 97, they at the beginning of it, they had a good one. So I just wrote a team down that was my favorite team in 1997. And it was the Faces of Fear.
Ming and the Barbarian, not a bad choice.
Love Mang and the Barbarian. Fucking love them.
Now, did you love them as Haku and the Barbarian, or no?
Huh?
Did you love them in the WWF as Haku and the Barbarian too when they were in the Eaton family?
I have a Haku shirt, man.
Yeah, I dig Haku
But
too.
as a
That's why I
tag team,
asked.
love the Faces of Fear. For one, their music is super relaxing.
Well, of course you have a Haku shirt because if you don't, he's gonna come and rip your fucking eyeball out.
But
Hey,
as a tag team, I fucking love the Faces of Fear.
As a shameless plug here, if you join the We Can't Wrestle Facebook group, you'll get this joke. I want you to think about 3 Meng and a Bebe, which made me laugh for like 7 minutes.
It was
And
pretty damn good.
Every couple days, I'm like 3 Meng and a Bebe.
I like what fucking Tony Schiavone was talking about when he was talking about Ming and his son, and he's like, I don't know what to say to my son. And Tony Schiavone's like, "Fuck, tell him you're fucking Ming."
All right, so I think we got our consensus for Tag Team of the Year. Archie and I said the Steiners. I guess we didn't really get Kyle's opinion.
Kyle, well, yeah, what was your opinion, Kyle?
I'm gonna have to go with the Steiners.
And then Aaron with Faces of Fear. So 2 good picks, and it would have been. I'm sure they had matches where they beat the ever loving fuck out of each other.
If nothing else, 97.
Aaron?
With everything going on with 97, one word defines 97 as far as tag team wrestling, and that's Steiner line.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I was just about to say, Aaron said the Faces of Fear music was like soothing. I find the Steiner Brothers song soothing. Steiner lie over and over again. You know what I mean?
It's just repetitive.
Just repetitive.
I just want you guys to understand that you can't always be right all the time.
Well, I'm glad you could admit that.
Aaron just cut a promo on all of us.
In
Speaking
3
of
words.
which, best promo.
Steve Austin.
That was good. That was good, Nate.
Aaron, I agree with you, but you jumped the gun. The top 3 from the Pro Wrestling Torch poll: number 3, Ric Flair; number 2, Shawn Michaels; and number 1, Steve Austin. Now, where I disagree with the Torch viewers, or the Torch whatever readers, I think Austin is best in 97. I mean, talk about cutting your chops, the promos, electrifying the world with promos in 97. Shawn Michaels, yes, Shawn Michaels had those scathing promos, and for anything you can say about him, whether he was being real, being a dick, whatever, the promos were intriguing. I think this is one of the worst years for Flair on promos, and I would put my number 3 as Bret Hart with those heel promos I was talking about earlier.
I agree.
And you're right. And this is one of those ones that's going to be tough to pick because there's another gentleman that I think cut some really good fucking promos in 97, and that's Brian Pillman.
Yeah.
Wow,
Mhm.
Kyle.
Brian Pillman, I mean, just between just everything that he was doing. I mean,
The episode of Raw where he has you do the prayer, where he has everybody, do the prayer for Bret Hart, that he gets better. How good is that? It's so good.
I think at some point in like late 95 when Pillman was a part of the Horsemen, he lost his mind slightly and then came back from it, but remembered everything he felt for losing his mind because he was too real at his promos. I thought I was listening to a crazy person 80 to 90% of the time.
Yeah.
Half of the stuff he said didn't make any sense, but you believed it and were like, yes, say more. Yes, I want to hear more.
And he was the one guy out of the Hurt Foundation that even like Canada, they're like, fuck, this guy is fucking nuts. Like
he's not a member of the Hart. In some ways, he was like the black sheep of the Hart Foundation, but he made it work.
Right.
Yeah. And that was what was great about it.
Pillman was great, but the best 97 promo was Steve Austin.
No, I agree with him being number 1, without a doubt.
I do too.
But Flair kept getting cut short by the NWO all year of 97. 96 wasn't that great either because of the whole Dungeon of Doom and then leading into Hogan turning. Flair wasn't the top heel anymore.
98 was a great year for Flair.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. Because
fire me, I'm already fired.
Right, yeah.
Bit his lip and was fucking bleeding and shit. Oh,
was it 90? Was it 98 or 99 when he yelled at the camera, if you cut my mic and turn to a commercial, when I come back, I'll be naked.
I think that was during the Rousseau era, so it would have been like 99 or 2000.
Okay, that might be one of my favorite Flair promos, because when I'll be naked when you come back, I'm like, wow, he would do it. He would do it. Flair would come back with nothing on right now.
Think of the memories of him like being crazy, standing there in his boxers, like doing the crotch thrust to Torrie Wilson or whatever. Just
think about like one of the best moments on Nitro is when the Horseman comes back.
Mm-hmm.
Arn Anderson being like, I don't know if it's my old age or
what a goof.
Somebody.
What a goof.
Yep.
What a goof.
That fucking crowd. Ugh. And to see Flair come out and like you have Flair who doesn't. It's like Edge when Edge came out at the Royal Rumble. You don't see that emotion in his eyes. You see him fucking tearing up like I can't believe. Ugh.
The weeks leading up to that, Kyle. The weeks leading up to that, when Malenko and Benoit are begging Arn Anderson bring back the Horseman.
Yep.
And Arn is like, I can't. And then even Mongo's like, leave him alone. He can't do it. I wanted to tear Chris Benoit and Dean Malenko a new asshole. Be like, leave Arn Anderson alone. He's right. He can't do it. There's no Ric Flair. Because I thought Flair was going from the company. I didn't know he was still under contract.
Well, and Arn Anderson to sit there and be like, all right, like you want it, fine, but we don't wear white hats. We're not good guys.
And they weren't.
No, he's like, you want this, fine.
Good Guy Horseman, I think at that point lasted for 4 months?
Yeah.
And then they went right back to being the badass 4 horsemen that we all love.
We have 3 categories left. I actually agree with the Torch voters on the top 2. Worst promos of 97.
What? I'll give you mine.
Well, let me do the Torch and then you can go. So, 3 is LOD. 2 is Roddy Piper.
What?
Yeah, Roddy Piper sounded like an addled amnesia patient in 97. And number 1, who is, out of main eventers, is worse than the Ultimate Warrior, is the worst promo ever, not just 97, Ahmed Johnson.
Oh,
that's number 1?
Number 1 is Ahmed Johnson.
I agree with number 1 completely.
I agree with number 1 completely. As far as number 2 is Roddy Piper,
no,
I don't see that because there's plenty of guys that have worse fucking promos than that.
Oh yeah,
Sid.
Number 1.
What's your number 1?
Mongo McMichael.
There you go.
Yeah, Mongo had some fucking horrible.
Mongo and Ahmed could battle for bad promo face to face,
and none of us would have any fucking clue what was going on.
Hey.
Nope. We might even change the channel.
Ahmed would be like, hey, I'm a stupid motherfucker. And then Mongo would be like, I'm an even more stupid motherfucker. Like, nope, we're equally as stupid, motherfucker.
And then Mongo would be like, look at my chihuahua.
Or do you remember in 2000 when Ahmed Johnson came to WCW as Big T?
Oh, and he was fatter?
He was fatter and he carried around a fucking jug of milk.
Yep.
Like every promo, like what?
How are you a bad guy? Right. Why are you drinking milk when you're a bad guy? I don't understand.
He just fucking carried around a gallon of milk for no reason. He just fucking had it.
All right. You want to do bad Stevie Ray. You want to have Harlem Heat 2000. I get it. But your answer to that was to give Stevie Ray Clarence Mason, Ahmed Johnson, and the big fat guy that was with Master P a year ago. Because that's who the other guy was that was with them.
Yes.
With Master P with the No Limit Soldiers. So that was your idea for Stevie Ray, who was actually pretty damn good in the ring?
Yeah, and that's the sad thing about it is that Stevie Ray doesn't get a lot of credit that he deserves.
Oh, my God. Stevie Ray, if it wasn't for Stevie Ray, I don't think Booker T would have been as big as he was, because if Booker T would have just came to WCW as a single, he might not have made as big of an impact. They needed to be a tag team.
You know what's funny is there are lots. There are Stevie Ray, just on that topic. There are lots of bad things about late WCW. Okay.
Yes.
One of the things that gets criticism that shouldn't was when they had Stevie Ray on color commentary on Thunder.
He was
Oh
gold.
God.
He was
gold.
great. He was great. Let's be honest, that show was garbage. It was boring.
Mark Madden's commentary made it atrocious.
Yeah.
Fuck Mark
Yeah.
Madden.
Yeah, fuck Mark Madden, exactly.
How in the fuck that fat piece of shit ever replaced Bobby Heenan? I'll never know.
Because Bobby got old and didn't want to do the job anymore.
And I understand that. But
No,
Bobby
well,
Heenan
no,
on
but what
fucking
Bobby
Saturday
got,
night?
Bobby didn't get old and not want to do the job anymore. Bobby watched the product he was watching and was like, "This is fucking garbage."
Right. He couldn't stand behind it. He couldn't stand behind it. He was like, "What the fuck am I working? Where am I working at?" And Mark Madden was too keen to go. Yeah, I'll do it. No problem. Put me in a Hawaiian shirt. I'm a fat ass in a Hawaiian shirt on national television.
The only time I ever marked for Mark Madden, the only time he ever made me mark out, and it wasn't because of him, because he stole it. It was because of Kevin Smith.
Mm-hmm.
When Hugh Morris, is it Hugh Morris does the
piece of shit, and
he does the big splash. Hugh Morris does the big splash, and Madden does the fly fat ass fly. But that had nothing to do with Madden. You know, he stole that from Kevin Smith.
Right.
So
He stole everything he ever fucking did.
including
Mark Madden.
If there are two people,
You fucking worthless piece of scum.
you sound like Billy Jack Haynes talking about Stone Cold. you fucking Stone Cold piece of shit.
Stone Cold piece of
if
shit.
there are two people that I hate more than Vince Russo in this world, it's Mark Madden and Ed Ferrara, at Vince Russo's writing partner.
Yeah.
Because the both of them, when they were in WCW, because I could handle Russo in WCW. He never showed himself on camera for the first little bit. But Ed Ferrara coming out like JR and pretending to have cerebral palsies and making horrible jokes and then covering himself in barbecue sauce and winning the Cruiserweight title, and Mark Madden with his goddamn horrible excuse for being a play-by-play man. Fuck both of them.
What? And then, do you remember Vince Russo did? I know we're fucking off topic here, but fuck.
It's okay.
Remember Vince Russo did the fucking Seinfeld thing?
Yep.
Yeah.
Where they wouldn't show.
Bad stuff.
Never had a good fucking idea.
But yet you recognize the voice. You know it's Vince Russo. The minute I even though we all knew he was going to WCW, the minute you heard his voice behind the desk, everybody went, "That's Vince Russo."
Bro.
You know?
So, 2 categories left.
Ugh.
One of which is most underutilized of 1997, and
Okay.
the Pro Wrestling Torch voters. Number 3, Juventud Guerrera.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Number 2, Chris Benoit.
Yeah.
And number 1, Flash Funk.
Holy shit.
What?
Underutilized.
Holy shit.
And I can't necessarily
You know what?
disagree with that,
Hey. You know why I say holy shit?
because that's who you said.
I wrote Flash Funk.
Huh?
Fucking 2 Cold Scorpio in 97. That
Jesus.
fucking 2 Cold Scorpio was the goddamn shit, man. Like, that guy did some shit that if you would take him and put him in the wrestling business now, he would be a fucking main event super fucking star. Like, 2 Cold Scorpio came along like 10 years too early, in my opinion.
He came around with no division built around him. There was no cruiserweights. There was no television
Like, I'm
titles.
not,
You know?
I wrote it fucking down. Flash Funk. It's fucked
Wow.
up that they said that.
Damn.
I'm surprised.
Didn't they make him team with Vader for like a month?
Yeah,
In
because
WWF? Both from Colorado.
yeah,
And they knew each other and they felt they'd make a good team.
They also teamed him with Terry Funk,
Funk,
so Jim
yep.
Jim Ross could say no relation.
Right.
So Archie, who would you say was the most underutilized?
Benoit is number 1.
believe, honestly, that I
You
fucking
nailed it.
agree with that. Yeah,
Hi, Archie.
Benoit.
It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
I was talking to the other gentleman there. And apparently his name is Archie because we asked Archie.
Didn't mean to interrupt, Kyle.
It's okay, Eric.
You never
I'll
mean
just sit here on
to.
my
You just
hand.
feel it.
I agree with Benoit. I think he should be number one.
Illiterate motherfucker.
I think that number 2 as Juventud Guerrera is good, but I think I would have went Benoit 1, Booker T 2, and Juventud 3.
Kyle?
You know, I got to agree with Flash Funk. I think that's a great idea. Benoit, and as much as I love Hoovy, I think Ultimo Dragon.
Okay. And what I wrote down is my most underutilized guy of 97. And I know he got a push. I mean, the WCW gave him a little mid-card push and everything. But it's a guy Archie brought up when he listed his. I think that it would have been in 97 advantageous to strike the iron with Booker T. Booker T there was a groundswell of popularity for Booker in 97. Especially, you go through the matches he had with Rick Martel and just in general, I think that they could have. How do I want to put this? If they would have started with Booker in 97, what they kind of sorted it a little too late by 2000 when the company was already in a tailspin and sinking. Booker T could have been money. Booker T could have been a guy that you built to face Hogan and Savage and you know what I mean? I mean, I think that his career proves that. One of the greatest
Definitely.
of all time. Shucky Ducky Quack Quack.
I think a guy too.
Can
also,
I give a? Oh, sorry, Kyle.
No, you're fine. I think a guy that doesn't get a lot of credit that really deserves it more than really probably anybody in WCW is Norman Smiley.
The Big Wiggle, baby.
I was going to take up on Smiley. Who I was going to say, and Kyle, if you want
Elaborate.
to tell more or elaborate on Norman.
Yeah,
you
because
can.
Norman Smiley never would have been world champion. Well, fuck, he could have been United States champion.
And let's be honest, and this is, I know we're talking about 97 here, but let's be honest, because he played the role so perfectly, and he did it so well, one of the very few really good things that Russo did in WCW was Screamin' Norman. That was a fantastic, fun. It was goofy. If it was goofy, but it wasn't too goofy. And Norman played it perfectly.
Or a good television champion, where he should have been the fucking star of Saturday Night.
Mm-hmm.
Where then he could go on, because I mean, we talk about Benoit not having a bad match. Name me a bad Norman Smiley match.
I can't.
No, neither can I. Even the hardcore stuff with Terry Funk and
yeah, like I said,
was good,
that was. It's funny because I know people that listen to That's Not Wrestling or watch that live show on Monday nights on the Facebook group or the YouTube page. If you're not a member, why the fuck not? Hear me talk about play wrestling and blah 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 and how it's all silly now and it's stupid. But at that time, what Norman and Terry Funk were doing, or what have you, was, okay, there is a place for comedy in wrestling if it's done properly. If it's done properly.
And for 10
minutes.
Those still look like real fights.
Right.
Okay.
And their comedy was they brought back Ralph this.
Right. And Norman was wearing football pads, but he still fought.
Isn't one of the funniest things in wrestling history Ralphus's crowd control? Just him taking his hand and going like,
no.
Like, no. It's some of the greatest shit ever, man. I love Ralphus.
Ralphus.
Can I say my 97 guy?
Yes.
That's not too cold, Scorpio.
Yes.
Like, he was almost somebody that I erased when I said Too Cold Scorpio, and I thought it was kind of cool that fucking Torch people said 97 was Too Cold Scorpio. It's Perry Saturn.
Oh, that's a good pick.
Yeah, Saturn was on the up.
Almost
come
put
up.
Perry Saturn down. Because Perry Saturn had fantastic goddamn WCW matches in 97. He was great.
He was.
Perry
You know
Saturn is another one who didn't have a bad match in WCW either.
You know who's another guy? Because you brought up Saturn. He's an ECW guy originally. Jerry Lynn.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't. Whenever you talk about those matches, you always talk about Rob Van Dam. But Jerry Lynn, man, he fucking.
I think what hurt, to be honest, honestly, and you guys can disagree with me if you want, but I think what hurt Jerry Lynn from having that X Factor, Jerry Lynn I never thought was a good promo.
No.
He was like a Lance Storm. He was very laid back and
he didn't come off like you'd watch, and I'm not at all denigrating his ability in the ring. I mean,
no.
Some of the best matches ever in ECW were Jerry Lynn and Rob Van Dam. I mean, those you can't argue with that. But you put the mic in front of his face, he's like, "Hey, guy, how you doing there, buddy?"
Right.
And it's just it doesn't work.
He's one of those guys that needed a mouthpiece or someone just talking for him.
Yeah. But I agree, Kyle. Jerry Lynn, fantastic performer.
So good. Do not get that mistake with Jerry Flynn.
No.
It was at WCW Starrcade.
But one of the funniest moments in Nitro history, is it Nitro or is it on a pay-per-view, is when Jerry Flynn has that match with Ernest Miller. And as he's walking from the ring, he looks at the camera and he goes, "That's how you take care of Ernest fucking Miller." And he's on live TV, so then he makes like the oops face. And oh my God.
He goes, "This is how you take care of Ernest fucking Miller."
Oops.
Nitro.
But let's be honest, it was Nitro, and none of the executive producers were probably even watching anyway. They were all making sure Hogan had his grapes and shit.
Right.
All right, so our last category, 1997 Pro Wrestling Torch viewers, listeners, readers. Most overpushed. Number 3, Eric Bischoff.
Yes.
Number 2, Lex Luger.
Yes.
And number 1, Hollywood Hogan.
None of those people are on my list.
I wouldn't. I would actually switch Eric Bischoff with Hogan and put Bischoff as first, because Bischoff wanted to be the main focal point at that point.
I picked Bischoff, and I would in no way ever, in any aspect of any wrestling organization in history, even WCW 95, where I disliked him and disliked what was going on with him, I have never in my life said any wrestling promotion over-pushed Hulk Hogan. That's a stupid assertion, because you have a charismatic star, who is the biggest star in the history of the business, along with Austin. How can you ever say you over-pushed Hulk Hogan?
Right.
It's that is the dirt sheet bullcrap sometimes, like there's times I didn't like Hogan, but I would never say that any promotion overpushed him, because he put money in the bank everywhere he ever went.
Yep. Now I will say I'll take Hogan out of that list, and I'm going to put in Ahmed Johnson.
Agreed.
Yep.
I'd put him at number 2.
Because fuck me, Ahmed Johnson, 1997, that was the fucking height of them Vince being like, "No, this is the guy."
And he's going to cut these great promos, pal.
The funny thing is, though, is, okay, here's Ahmed Johnson. He's the guy. He's African-American. We want to push him. But then here's Farouk to come in and say, Vince McMahon doesn't like black people, but yet our golden boy is Ahmed Johnson. Well, and
not to mention,
you have Ron fucking Simmons.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You have Ron Simmons.
Outfit.
You have. Well, no, what I was going to say was, this is 97. You have Ron Simmons,
right?
And you're trying to push Ahmed.
okay, but by this point, it wasn't the same Ron Simmons. Let's say what it is. It's years later after he beat Vader for the world title. He's no longer Ron Simmons. The way they introduced him was terrible. They didn't explain to you why he was with Sonny for those couple of weeks, why he targeted Ahmed Johnson, why Sonny wanted to be
they couldn't
targeting Ahmed Johnson.
Archie.
And I get that,
Archie?
but
Yes.
Steve Austin,
In all
started
fairness-
that fucking ring master.
Like a blonde
In
woman.
all fairness,
Mm-hmm.
they couldn't explain to you why they put him with Sonny.
But we
Because
know why.
They couldn't say when we go to the South
Right.
and we have this big black man come out with this blonde white woman. This is
Oh,
gonna get
no.
some fucking heat.
Believe me, I understood that. But you left him with her for all of 3 weeks that you never even got to the South with them.
Right? Yeah.
So
truth.
it defeated the purpose.
Truth.
And then he went from Gladiator Farouk to I'm a black militant. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but what a switch.
But he did
You know?
a great job in the role. Let's give him
Yes.
credit.
No,
He did a
he did
great
great.
job
The
in the role.
problem with Farouk and the Black Militant thing is they never let him win the championship.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
If he had won
Right.
that damn title,
Right.
come out there and been like,
You
like
have the Nation of Domination with you, which was like 40 people. You know what I mean?
Now, what I will say is comedic. It's kind of comedic when you look back on it now. It is comedic to me when you look back on it now that the Undertaker had to have a feud with Black Militant. I don't know why, but it's just funny. Like that feud, like Undertaker being like, "I gotta fight." Essentially, it's Undertaker versus Louis Farrakhan. And
Right.
Undertaker's just like, I'm just the champion. I'm the dead man. And actually, black people like me.
and on paper, Undertaker for
Black dudes
Ron
love
Simmons,
the Undertaker.
great match.
You know what I never understood?
Oh, guys,
as
sorry.
a kid.
Sorry, I'm gonna say this.
What?
This.
Go ahead.
Black dudes love the Undertaker.
All right.
Like where I grew up, my black friends, they were just like my African American friends. We'd talk about some shit, and I'd be like, "Oh man, I like Bret Hart. I really like Steve Austin." They'd be like, "The fucking Undertaker, man.
That's my shit.
Come on, Nizzo. He's the
Under-
best."
Undertaker versus Ron Simmons, that brings a new definition to that's dark.
Jesus Christ,
Oh,
Kyle.
God. I guess we're cutting that out.
Mark for edit. Mark for edit.
Mark for edit. What I never understood was it took them to the second version of the Nation of Domination to get it right. You have Farouk, who was basically being Louis Farrakhan and a black militant.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, he had Clarence Mason with him. That was fine. And yes, the rest of the Nation of Domination members in tuxedos were black. But he had Crush, who was from Hawaii. Savio Vega, who I believe is Puerto Rican.
Puerto Rican.
And Wolfie D and JC Ice. The two whitest white boys from the USWA. You know what I mean? It was like,
Yeah.
why? This is the Nation of Domination? Really? You know? They could have done more to get him over. And like you said, give him a shot at a title. But I don't know.
Absolutely.
I don't know. It just, the feud with Ahmed never actually went anywhere.
Well, and it's funny because it's funny that you say that because it was so long, but it never went anywhere.
Ahmed, why'd you join the Nation of Domination? I did it so The Rock wouldn't join.
Yeah.
What? Okay, and then what happened a month later? The Rock joined and kicked you out.
Yeah, it was absolutely pointless.
And honestly and truthfully, if it wouldn't have been for the Nation of Domination, we would not have gotten The Rock. So it did serve some purpose.
And yeah, that Nation of Domination, the Farouk Ahmed Johnson feud, it started in August of '96. Okay,
Right.
it ended. It ended in like December of '97. Like it was over a year.
Right.
And like Archie said, nothing ever happened. Like it never. There was never really a
No.
conclusion. There was
No.
never a decisive winner. It was just like they didn't know what to do with either one of them, so they just married them up for like a year and a half, 2 years.
Right.
Can we play a quick game of what if? Can you imagine, like, if Ahmed Johnson had been the one to first lay hands on Vince McMahon? If Ahmed Johnson come out and been like, it's you that has kept the black man down, it's you that's, always picks the world champion that doesn't give me the opportunities, what would the WWF look like?
Well, the problem with that is I don't think that it would have been as effective. And I'm being in all seriousness here. I'm not even being comedic me about this.
Oh, no, not at all.
Look like a jogging.
I don't think it would have been near as effective because he could not have ever cut the promos like Farouk did. Right. Ahmed did not have mic chops. He just did not have mic chops.
No, I was talking about Farouk. If Farouk had been the one that attacked.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. I got lost.
If Farouk would have been the first one to attack Vince McMahon
and be like, it's because of you that the black man is held down. You're the one.
He would have pulled the curtain behind and said, "You're the real owner. You're this. You're that."
I guess where I got lost was because Farouk did come out and cut those promos about Vince and when he was feuding with the Undertaker about being the first Black World Champion and all that. He did cut some kind of those promos, but I see what you're saying now. What if I don't think they would have done that as a push the company angle.
Right.
It was okay for a month angle to get some heat on Farouk, but to push the company angle, I don't know that they would want to be in the race card that deep.
Right. At that same time, I believe WCW was being called out on being racist for having no international or foreign world champions, and that was the furthest thing from the truth because Rey Mysterio was a cruiserweight champion, Chris Jericho was television champion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it made no sense. So I think WWF would not have profited or moved forward if they would have said Vince McMahon's a racist. Because, all right, Farouk attacks Vince McMahon, lays him out. Vince is off TV for a week or two. Vince couldn't have came on TV and been like, "You're damn right, I'm racist." It wouldn't have worked. You know what I mean?
That would have been a whole different Mr. McMahon.
Right.
He would have a pointy hat on and
the Grand Wizard of the World Wrestling Federation, Vince McMahon.
That would have been horrible.
Oh, man.
That would have been really bad.
Oh, I'm just thinking about all the horrible gimmicks.
Yeah.
Well, that's it.
It's me, Farouk.
It's not it.
He's underneath the white hood.
No, he would have called. He's wearing a white hood, right? And he's not. He doesn't call him Farouk. It's me, Ron. It's been me all along. He totally exposes.
The white power that be.
Right. The Undertaker's just sitting there going, "What the fuck am I involved in? Wait a minute, this is the way the storyline should have went." I was talking about the devil, not the KKK. What are you talking about here?
Aaron says that's not it.
You didn't give your underpushed or overpushed.
Overpushed. I said Eric Bischoff.
I also said Bischoff.
I said Ahmed.
Okay, well, I didn't give my overpushed.
Go ahead.
My overpushed was DDP.
What?
I see that.
DDP fucking sucks.
What?
Archie is a Jersey guy. He's like, "You son of a bitch."
Come down to Jersey Shore, we'll show you how to fist pump and throw up the diamond sale. I'm joking. I don't even act like that.
Listen to your goddamn fucking Bruce Springsteen bullshit.
Hey.
DDP sold he sold tickets, man.
DDP
This is going to be the first time on the show Archie really gets pissed. I like it.
I listen to Bon Jovi, not Bruce Springsteen, okay?
Well, I like Bon Jovi, but DDP
he's from New Jersey. Look, you could say what you want. I I don't feel Diamond Dallas Page was always the most over, but the time when they finally let him get over, he played the part well. He was the underdog, and he just kept fighting.
And where go ahead, Darren.
Okay, I can stout my beliefs. DDP is garbage.
What I will say and I'm not a big DDP fan either, okay? But what I will say to counter that just a little bit, just to put something in perspective. Whether you or I, it's kind of like, and I hate to bring this up because this is bringing up another sour crawl in Aaron's thing, but it's kind of like Beefcake. In that, if you look at the time where, and I know everybody on this panel thinks it's horse shit that Brutus Beefcake broke Mr. Perfect's perfect record in 90 at WrestleMania 6.
Yes.
At that time, whether we like it or not, you watch and listen to those crowds, Beefcake was over as fuck. They loved him. And that's what I will say in defense of WCW pushing DDP is at this time in 97 and early 98, man, that guy was over. There's no arguing with it. Those crowds were popping hardcore all the time for
Without
DDP.
a doubt.
What is it about DDP that you hate, Aaron?
Well, I hate his stupid jeans and his stupid goddamn ramen hair.
Okay.
His stupid face.
DDP, the original Razor Ramen.
He was a good promo.
No, he wasn't.
Yes, he was.
I hate his stupid goddamn.
Ladies and gentlemen, if I could interject with a cheap plug here, on August 22nd, DDP will be in the virtual asylum. Make sure you meet us there so that Aaron Maxon can tell him to his face that he thinks he sucks. I will personally pay for Aaron's ticket to see him go face to face with Diamond Dallas Page.
I will tell him that his stupid ramen haircut, his stupid weight belt, he's a piece of shit. And he should just hang himself.
But if you look at his wife, he must be hung like a horse and can lick his own forehead.
Kimberly Bacon is fantastic.
My wife doesn't listen to this show, so I can say this. People always be like, man, how did you get such a hot wife? I'm like, well, I can lick my forehead. But anyway.
Listen, say what you will about Diamond Dallas Page. He was
I have
over.
A pretty girlfriend too, Nate.
Mm-hmm.
I have a pretty girlfriend too.
Yeah, sir.
I have nothing going on. In this,
Diamond Dallas Page has more world championships than you, so.
But DDP
five time.
Yeah.
With his stupid ramen hair.
And DDP
That's
was an
stupid ramen hair
movie.
5 world championships.
And he's also been in an award-winning movie.
Yeah.
No, Ready to Rumble never won an award. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Ready to Rumble is a fucking terrible movie.
Do you watch it when it's on?
If any of you like that.
So you've never quoted a scene from like Ready to Rumble, like Jimmy the King or like
No, I've never quoted a fucking goddamn moment from Ready to Rumble. It's a terrible movie. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Ladies and gentlemen, join us in the virtual asylum when Jimmy King will be there. No, I'm just kidding. We don't have Jimmy King coming
Oh,
up.
shit. We got Oliver Platt.
Oliver Platt is in Ready to Rumble?
He's Jimmy the King.
He's Jimmy King.
What the fuck?
Have you never seen?
Hang himself for that.
The movie only came out 21 fucking years ago, Aaron.
Has Aaron never seen Ready to Rumble?
That guy should be ashamed. Oliver Platt was in West Wing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he should be
My
like
favorite TV show.
West Wing.
My favorite
Your favorite TV show
Ladies
was The
and gentlemen,
Office.
What's that? No, that's up there. It's up there.
Let's have a call to
West
action.
Wing. West Wing's right here. Okay, see where it's at.
Mhm.
Hey, here's Oliver Platt in West Wing, and then
Mhm.
here's Oliver Platt in goddamn Ready to Rumble. He should murder himself.
Oh God.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to make a call to action right here, right now. Maybe
Yeah.
we can throw this on the Asylum podcast. Maybe we can put it on the World Championship Customs, everything.
Definitely.
But let's have a charity drive here.
It's a GoFundMe.
We will
GoFundMe?
No, listen, hang on.
Are you
hold on.
gonna say GoFundMe for Oliver
No.
Platt?
Let's have a charity drive here where we raise money. We'll come up with a donation limit or whatever what we got to reach. If we reach it, Aaron Maxson will have to sit down with us and we will watch Ready to Rumble all the way through.
I'm in.
We will do it for like Feeding America or something like that.
I'm not gonna watch Ready to Rumble. That's a fucking terrible movie.
You don't even know. You haven't watched it.
I've watched it.
I'll say this: if we
You
make
didn't know Oliver
$500,
Platt was
you have
in
to watch it. If we make $1,000, you have to watch it for 12 hours straight.
God. That's too much. That's too much. I can only watch that movie once a year for about 45 minutes.
All right, that's a wrap.
Yes.
Let's do the outros.
That's
I
a
love
wrap.
you.
That is the We Can't Wrestle podcast, episode 102.
Holy
Reviewing.
fuck, we were recording.
Reviewing the Pro Wrestling Torch year-end awards from 1997.
Babies.
Yes. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to again encourage you to, if you have not, join our Facebook group on Facebook. That was redundant. But join our Facebook group, the We Can't Wrestle Facebook group. We all take...
Derp, derp.
Yes, we all take a lot of pride in that and this show. Join the Asylum, World Championship Customs, the Nerd Closet, and Trading Chops. And I
Trading
promise
Chops.
you that amongst all those groups, you are going to find all the entertainment you need as a wrestling fan
Without a
on
doubt.
Facebook and anywhere else. Thank you for joining us. We're going to sign off. As usual, it ended as a shit show that I will edit, but we will have a show for you. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week on the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to my co-hosts. Aaron is talking, and I have no idea what he's saying.
I said goodbye.
Tootsie. A good